Chapter 1405. Ningqing made it clear that he didn't want to go, but Tang Hua's tone clearly indicated that she wanted to go with Ningqing. Liz had no choice but to agree to meet Tang Hua at the sacred domain before leaving with the Warsong Imperial Domain's escort airship. After Liz left, Deacon Qing Yong quickly came over and invited Ningqing and Tang Hua to board. Ningqing, however, didn't plan to board the ship. If the fat man really had a top-grade treasure on him, then sitting with this guy on the ship would be equivalent to helping someone else as a guard for free. No, I have my own flight-type weapon. Ningqing refused without hesitation. Previously, he only took the ship for safety reasons. But now that Ningqing's cultivation had recovered to the Dao sculpting realm, the ship was not only slow, but it also had no safety at all. It might even implicate him. Only a fool would continue to take the ship. Qing Yong then looked at Tang Hua, who spoke up apologetically, "Deacon Qing, I think I've implicated everyone this time. I have a small radiant treasure chariot on me. I'm afraid that my treasure chariot attracted those bandits." After listening to Tang Hua's words, Qing Yong remained silent. Radiant treasure chariots were very precious, even small ones. Without a radiant treasure chariot, one couldn't cross the sacred domain river. Without crossing the sacred domain river, one couldn't go to the radiant sacred domain. Only Ningqing guessed that this time, the bandit army most likely had nothing to do with the radiant treasure chariot. Perhaps the radiant treasure chariot was precious, but Ningqing didn't believe that tens of thousands of bandits would mobilize just for a small radiant treasure chariot. "In that case, Miss Tang Hua will come with me." Ningqing turned around and walked away. He didn't intend to bring out the starry sky wheel here. "Senior, please wait a moment. I'm willing to pay several times the fare. I only ask that Senior take me with you." The fat man saw Ningqing turn around and hurriedly followed. After the man came over, the rest of the people looked at Ningqing's side. Obviously, they all knew that Ningqing was the strongest. With Ningqing around, there was no need to fear bandits. "Sorry, my flight-type weapon is very small. You're too heavy. My flight-type weapon can't carry you," Ningqing said with a calm voice. The fat man wanted to speak, but Ningqing's eyes turned cold. "Do you want me to speak?" The obese man on hearing Ningqing's words couldn't help but tremble, before he quickly bowed and spoke. "Since it is not convenient for Senior, then this junior will take his leave." Although Ningqing rejected the fat man, no one was willing to come up and be rejected by Ningqing again. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ningqing, who had just left the giant ship, brought out the starry sky wheel and spoke to Tang Hua. "Miss Tang Hua, please give me a copy of the positional map, so that I can control the flight-type magical weapon in a hurry." Tang Hua did not hesitate to take out a positional jade strip and handed it to Ningqing. "Elder brother Ning, did you also see that there was a problem with that person?" Ningqing knew that the person that Tang Hua was talking about was the obese man, and from the meaning of Tang Hua's words, it was obvious that she could see that there was something wrong with the obese man. He replied noncommittally, "I never bring strangers with me on my flying artifact." Tang Hua glanced at the remaining 7 guards behind him, and spoke in an apologetic manner. "Elder brother Ning, my guards are all loyal to me, then come up together." Ningqing nodded. These guards were indeed very loyal to Tang Hua. Tang Hua had never seen the starry sky wheel before, but when the starry sky wheel activated, her expressions changed a little. She also had a flying magic treasure, and her speed was also faster than the huge ship. However, compared to Ningqing's flight-type weapon, her flight-type weapon felt like garbage. Originally, it was estimated that it would take more than a year to reach the edge of the sacred domain river. But with Ningqing's current speed, it would only take a month at most. However, Tang Hua still guessed wrong. In just half a month, the starry sky wheel reached the edge of the sacred domain river. Although she felt very curious and eager about Ningqing's flight-type weapon, Tang Hua still held back from asking Ningqing about it. She felt even more sure that Ningqing's origin was not ordinary. Moreover, the things he did were not something a rogue cultivator from the mortal realm could do. Whether it was the starry sky wheel or Ningqing's sweeping spirit technique that contained the aura of time, both were powerful means that bright radiance had never seen before. Standing by the sacred domain river, Ningqing felt a little surprised. He had seen too many strange rivers, the Blood River under the Futility Bridge, the Black River under the Prometha Bridge, the Milky Way in the Void, but he had never seen a river like the Sacred Domain River. Even with his spiritual consciousness, he couldn't sweep to the edge of the Sacred Domain River. The water of the Sacred Domain River looked a little green. But these were not unusual. What was unusual was that the surface of the Sacred Domain River looked as if it had a layer of ice, without even the slightest ripple. Moreover, the wind around it was not small. Logically speaking, the larger the surface of the water, the bigger the waves. However, he had never seen a river without even the slightest ripple like the Sacred Domain River before. Brother Ning, no weapon can cross the Sacred Domain River except for the Radiant Treasure Chariot. Seeing Ning Cheng standing at the edge of the Sacred Domain River, Tang Hua walked over and whispered. After that, she brought out her Radiant Treasure Chariot. It was Ning Cheng's first time seeing the Radiant Treasure Chariot, and it didn't look very big. Ning Cheng looked inside through the restrictions and found about 40 to 50 seats inside. No wonder he had heard that the number of spots to enter the Radiant Sacred Domain was limited. This limited should mean that Tang Hua's Radiant Treasure Chariot had a limited number of seats. Is it necessary to ride the Radiant Treasure Chariot to cross the Sacred Domain River? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness carefully penetrated the Sacred Domain River to see if there was anything strange about it. Yes, the Radiant Treasure Chariot is made from indeterminate light stones. Indeterminate light stones are extremely rare. Indeterminate light stone? Ning Cheng immediately interrupted Tang Hua's words. At this moment, he was already quite knowledgeable. Do you mean the indeterminate light stones condensed from the indeterminate black water? Tang Hua nodded. That's right. The indeterminate black water is a priceless treasure. It would be even more difficult to find the indeterminate light stones from the indeterminate black water. Ning Cheng agreed with Tang Hua's words. The indeterminate black water was ranked 7th among the innate 10 waters, which showed how rare the indeterminate light stones were. Brother Ning, please get on board. After Tang Hua finished speaking, she reached out and invited Ning Cheng to board the Radiant Treasure Chariot. After Ning Cheng and Chasing Bull boarded the Radiant Treasure Chariot, Tang Hua made a few hand gestures, and the Radiant Treasure Chariot's protective restrictions turned off. The chariot then rushed into the Sacred Domain River. Seeing that Ning Cheng didn't go to the inner cabin, Tang Hua also came to the front of the Radiant Treasure Chariot and pointed to the calm river outside the Radiant Treasure Chariot's restrictions. Brother Ning, this Sacred Domain River is very strange. Except for the Radiant Treasure Chariot, any flight-type weapons that pass through it would get sucked into the Sacred Domain River and disappear. Since ancient times, some powerhouses have gone down to investigate it, but as long as they entered the Sacred Domain River, none of them could come out. Ning Cheng felt secretly surprised when he heard this. Bright Radiance naturally had many powerhouses, but for so many years, no one could enter the Sacred Domain River and come out. Just how powerful was this Sacred Domain River? However, whether his spiritual consciousness penetrated the surface of the Sacred Domain River or the bottom of the Sacred Domain River, he couldn't find any abnormalities. Apart from his spiritual consciousness not being able to reach the bottom of the Sacred Domain River, everything else seemed normal. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was just about to grab a clump of the Sacred Domain River's water to take a look when the originally calm river surface suddenly changed and started tumbling violently. Especially under the Radiant Treasure Chariot, the tumbling turned even more violent. The tumbling waves were still a distance away from the Radiant Treasure Chariot, but the Radiant Treasure Chariot started shaking violently. Tang Hua's expression changed and quickly spoke up, "Brother Ning, you can't absorb the river water here." Without Tang Hua's words, Ning Cheng had already retracted his spiritual consciousness and gave up on the idea of absorbing the river water. After a while, the tumbling waves under the Radiant Treasure Chariot slowly disappeared, and the Sacred Domain River returned to its original calmness. Feeling the waves disappear, Tang Hua spoke up with lingering fear, "Brother Ning, this river water must not be touched. Once it is touched, it would be difficult for us to get out of the Sacred Domain River. Today, we were lucky that it did not affect the Radiant Treasure Chariot." Ning Cheng nodded, indicating that he understood. Although he did not take out a clump of the sacred domain river's water, he already had a plan in his heart. Once he fully recovered his strength, he would come back to take a look at the sacred domain river. Ningqing guessed that the sacred domain river was not as simple as it looked on the surface. He had only intended to absorb a clump of water, yet the sacred domain river had already turned so violent. Miss Tanghua, if we go in one direction, how long would it take for us to reach the end of this mainland? Ningqing thought that as long as he reached the sacred domain, it would not be a problem for him to restore his cultivation. The key was how to find the cosmic surface and then leave this place. Tanghua looked at the sacred domain river under the radiant treasure chariot with some worry before shaking her head and speaking to Ningqing, whether we go from the radiant heaven or the dark heaven. There's no end to this place we're in. The closer to the edge, the more desolate it becomes, and the less essence chi there is. Therefore, very few people would go there. The radiant heaven and the dark heaven should be the most suitable places for cultivation. Ningqing thought to himself, sure enough, there is no end. It meant that even if they flew upwards, there would not be an end. This side of the universe really was a continent. With such a large continent, according to theory, the gravity must have been terrifying. However, the gravity here was even lower than that of an average planet. The mysteries of the universe really could not be explained with the knowledge he had learned. The radiant treasure chariot sped along, and after nearly half a year, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept across another vast continent. Ningqing felt a more distinct aura of the laws of darkness and light. Ningqing understood that this should be the sacred domain. Brother Ning, this is the periphery of the radiant sacred domain. There are still a few years before we enter the radiant treasury. Do you want to enter the radiant sacred domain with me, or do you want to act alone? After seeing Ningqing's power, Tanghua did not dare to show even half a shred of disrespect in front of Ningqing. Many thanks, Miss Tanghua. Thank you for taking me into the radiant sacred domain. After reaching the sacred domain, I will leave alone. Ningqing thanked her with cupped fists. The first thing he would do after arriving at the radiant sacred domain was to find Nong Shirua and see if he could get his hands on the darkness origin bead. If he could get his hands on it, then after a few years, he would have enough time to restore his strength. Chapter 1406. Tanghua listened to Ningqing's words. After taking Ningqing to the radiant sacred domain, she left the communication pearl with Ningqing and left alone. Although the radiant sacred domain didn't have any cities, nor did it seem to have any defensive arrays on the surface, Ningqing could feel the radiant sacred domain's defensive grand array as soon as he came in. It was just that this defensive grand array hadn't been activated yet. Entering the radiant sacred domain, Ningqing clearly felt that the heaven and earth essence chi here was much richer than outside, and the laws of heaven and earth here were much clearer. Sweeping out with his divine sense, he found all sorts of caves, markets, merchant houses. The radiant sacred domain didn't have any cities on the surface, but it was no less prosperous than any of the sacred cities in the grand essence realm. Some places where people gathered could even be comparable to the beyond of heaven and earth. Through Tanghua's introduction and the directional jade strip, Ningqing now understood that the radiant sacred domain was just a collective name for all the sacred domains of the radiant heavenly saint. There was also the first sacred region in the radiant sacred region. The first sacred region was the Sacred Lord region. The Sage Lord region was where the radiant bright Saint Lord resided. More than 60% of the radiant sky's strongest experts were gathered here. Not only was this the most prosperous place in the entire luminous heavens, but it was also the place with the densest God's spiritual energy for cultivation. At this time, Ningqing had already arrived at the sacred master domain. Based on Nong Shirua's location, he found a rest stop near the makeshift market. The inn was very ordinary. It was called 9 Reliance Inn. The only advantage was that it was close to Nong Shirua's residence. Ningqing only had one purpose for coming here, and that was to visit Nong Shirua. Back then, Nong Shimu was the #1 expert of the radiant sacred world. Naturally, he lived in the best place in the radiant sacred world. The best place in the holy region was the Holy Lord region. After Nong Shimu's death, Nong Shirua had never left. If Nong Shirua was willing to trade with him, that would be for the best. If not, he was prepared to make a different deal with her. He didn't want the Darkness Origin bead. All he wanted was for the Darkness Origin bead to study. Since there were so many cultivation jade strips in the Radiant Holy Domain, Ning Cheng easily bought a bunch of them in major marketplaces and merchant houses. To Ning Cheng's regret, he could not find any introduction to this side of the universe. He couldn't even find a jade slip that introduced this universe, let alone a jade slip that introduced the face of the universe. Not to mention these jade strips, Ning Cheng couldn't even find a few introductory jade strips about the Sacred Domain River. What he found was similar to what Tang Hua had said. There was nothing special about it, which made Ning Cheng very disappointed. For half a month, Ning Cheng wandered around the makeshift market, and sometimes even went to participate in 1 or 2 auctions, but still found nothing. After more than half a month of searching, Ning Cheng decided not to waste any more time. He wanted to pay a visit to Nong Shirua. If he really couldn't get the origin bead, he planned to use this period of time to refine his cultivation technique. He would first assimilate the laws here and recover his cultivation. As for the 5-colored splitter star square, it was naturally the last place they would go. Nong Shirua didn't live in a bustling place, but it wasn't very remote either. On the outskirts of her residence, there was a wide road. When Ning Cheng arrived at the entrance of Nong Shirua's immortal cave, he felt completely disappointed. Nong Shirua's immortal cave was completely sealed. The outside of the cave mansion was blocked by a powerful defensive restriction, and even spiritual sense could not penetrate it. Nong Shirua's cave abode not only had the strongest defensive array, it also had a warning to not disturb while she was in seclusion. If he wanted to go in and find Nong Shirua, he would have to force his way through this defensive array. As a cultivator, no one would ignore this warning and force their way into the immortal cave. What's more, this immortal cave was located in the Sacred Lord region. Forcing his way through would only lead to death. Ning Cheng felt a little lost. He lowered his head and slowly walked past Nong Shirua's immortal cave, thinking about how he could see Nong Shirua. Ning Cheng didn't walk very fast, but a few cultivators quickly overtook Ning Cheng and walked to the front. Ning Cheng didn't care about it. Although there weren't many people walking on this road, there were still some. Just as Ning Cheng was about to turn around and go back, another figure hurriedly passed by his side. But this time, Ning Cheng immediately noticed this figure. This person's aura was a little off. Ning Cheng possessed the mysterious yellow bead and cultivated the good fortune origin cultivation method. As such, he was extremely sensitive to the Tao charm aura of heaven and earth. What's more, he had only come into contact with cultivators from this side of the universe. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on the person who had just passed by, and he didn't hesitate to put a spiritual sense imprint on this person. It had been more than a year since he came to this side of the universe, so Ning Cheng was very familiar with the cultivation aura here. The 5 elements aura of this cultivator didn't come from this side of the universe, but from the 5 elements universe. It was just that this person had been here for a long time and had completely recovered his cultivation. At this moment, his cultivation should be at the late-stage primordial chaos realm. Ning Cheng still wanted to leave this side of the universe, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this fellow who came from the same universe as him. Ning Cheng didn't chase after him. Instead, he left a spiritual sense imprint. No matter how far this fellow ran, he would still be able to find him. He didn't care about a late-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. He also didn't touch the restrictions of Nong Shirua's immortal cave and simply returned to the rest stop. Ning Cheng hadn't even entered the rest stop when he felt the spiritual sense imprint he had made approaching him. Obviously, the man with the spiritual sense imprint had walked past Nong Shirua's immortal cave and come back. This was definitely a stepping stone. When Ning Cheng saw this person in the market, he knew that this person must have the same thoughts as him about the darkness origin bead. Ning Cheng hadn't expected that this fellow would stay in the same rest stop as him, the 9 Reliance rest stop. This made Ning Cheng less anxious. If this fellow wanted to make a move on Nong Shirua, he would naturally take the opportunity to fish in troubled waters. His strength was still a little weak, so Ning Cheng decided to raise his strength to the Tao Birth Realm first. Once he reached the Tao Birth Realm, As long as he integrated the darkness law, it would be easy for him to deal with a late-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. 2 days passed quickly. On the third day, Ning Qing once again sensed this fellow leave the rest stop. Just as Ning Qing had expected, this fellow walked around the entrance of Nong Shirua's immortal cave and didn't do anything. After a month, Ning Qing found out that this fellow was called Zhou Xing and had been staying in the 9 Reliance rest stop for almost 3 months. This fellow was really patient. He had stayed here for almost half a year just to step on others. When the second month passed, Ning Qing recovered to the Dao birth realm. The first thing Ning Qing did when he got up from cultivation was to use his spiritual consciousness to infiltrate Zhou Xing's room and search for his whereabouts. When Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness penetrated the defensive restrictions of Zhou Xing's room, he didn't see Zhou Xing. He immediately stood up and left the rest stop in a hurry. He knew that Zhou Xing was definitely ready to make a move. Usually, when Zhou Xing left, his white fox companion beast would be in the companion beast room. This time, however, his companion beast wasn't there. The sky outside was overcast. Although the thick fog didn't hinder spiritual consciousness, not many people were willing to come out in such weather. Ning Qing guessed that Zhou Xing had already chosen the time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so coincidental. He had been in the radiant sacred region for so many days, but he had never seen such overcast weather. Under normal circumstances, the radiant sacred region was sunny, and there might not even be a sun hanging in the sky. After Ning Qing walked out of the market square, he realized that it wasn't that no one came out, but that too many people came out. Most people surrounded the cave abode where Nong Shirua cultivated. Nong Shirua's cave abode's restriction had already been broken, and there were still several experts guarding it. Could it be that this fellow had already succeeded? That didn't seem possible. Regardless of Nong Shirua's strength, according to Tang Hua, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to succeed, let alone a late-stage primordial chaos cultivator like Zhou Xing. Ning Qing had also seen the restriction on Nong Shirua's cave abode. Even he couldn't easily break it in a short time. "Friend, what happened?" Ning Qing walked up to a cultivator and asked in a low voice. The cultivator glanced at Ning Qing and sighed. Alas, treasures really move people's hearts. Senior Nong contributed so much to our radiant sacred region, yet someone dared to make a move on his daughter. Before the cultivator could finish his sentence, he realized that Ning Qing, who had just asked him a question, had already disappeared. Ning Qing had already left the Sacred Lord region. The reason why he didn't stay here was that the trace of spiritual consciousness imprint he left behind had already escaped. This guy really succeeded. How could a puny primordial chaos sacred emperor succeed? Although Ning Qing was hurrying along, he felt very puzzled in his heart. Ning Qing's speed was extremely fast. In just half a day, his spiritual consciousness found Zhou Xing. Zhou Xing didn't suffer any injuries and was just moving stealthily. When Ning Qing saw this guy's movements, he immediately knew that this guy was following someone. He didn't know if Zhou Xing had any high-grade storage artifact, but Ning Qing was sure that Zhou Xing didn't have the darkness origin bead. Ning Qing hadn't seen the darkness origin bead before, but he knew that if Zhou Xing had it, he would definitely be able to sense it with his sensitivity to origin aura. Unless Zhou Xing had a good fortune treasure of the same grade as the mysterious yellow bead, but Ning Qing guessed that it was unlikely. After following for another hour, Ning Qing completely understood what was going on. Several black silhouettes appeared in the range of his divine sense, and they hurriedly fled under the gray sky. In the middle of these figures, one of them was holding a thin woman in his hand. Ning Qing immediately sensed the aura of the darkness origin aura from the woman. This woman was Nong Shirua, and the group of figures holding her were the ones who had come to snatch the darkness origin bead. Zhou Xing had acted a step too late and could only follow them. In that instant, Ning Qing made a judgment on the matter. Ning Qing couldn't help but admire Zhou Xing's courage. The person who had grabbed Nong Shirua should have an early-stage Dao integration cultivation level. Coupled with the many helpers around, Zhou Xing, who was a late-stage primordial chaos cultivator, had dared to chase after them. However, Ning Qing still had some doubts. According to Tang Hua, even if the other party was an early-stage Dao integration cultivator, Nong Shirua shouldn't have been able to break into her cave abode and capture her. Chapter 1407. Ning Qing followed behind. Not only did he not understand why Nong Shirua had been taken away, but he also admired Zhou Xing's tracking ability. Zhou Xing was just a late-stage primordial chaos expert, yet he had been able to follow Dao integration realm experts all the way here without being discovered. Zhou Xing was different from him. Although he was at the Dao birth realm, his true realm was far higher than these people. Moreover, he cultivated in the Origins cultivation method. Although there were some differences between the 5 elemental origins and the origins here, the laws of darkness that Dao Lord Darkness had imparted to him allowed him to completely blend into this space, allowing him to follow behind these people silently. These people were extremely fast, as if they had merged into the fog. Ning Qing followed them and gradually moved away from the light sacred region. They seemed to know that they could not make too much noise. As they escaped in the fog, there were very few spatial fluctuations. Ning Qing thought that if he had not left a spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing, he would not have been able to find these people through spatial fluctuations. A few hours later, Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness swept into a huge canyon. According to the spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing, he knew that this group of black-robed men had escaped directly into the canyon. Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness swept in, but his spiritual consciousness could not sweep too far in this canyon. Clearly, this canyon could isolate spiritual consciousness. Ning Qing also understood that these people wanted to use this canyon to avoid being tracked. Ning Qing did not know what canyon this was at first, but when he entered it, he guessed that this should be the Light Sacred Region's Thunder God Canyon. In this canyon, the aura of the Thunder Attribute Law was particularly rich. There were even some flashes of lightning in the depths of the canyon. Ning Qing did not expect the Thunder God Canyon to be so close to the Light Sacred Region. Although a few hours' journey was impossible for an ordinary person to reach in a lifetime. For those Dao validation experts, it was really not a road. According to Tang Hua, the Darkness Origin bead had originally been found in the Thunder God Canyon. After traveling in the Thunder God Canyon for nearly half a day, Ning Qing sighed at the vastness of the Thunder God Canyon. There were countless forks in the canyon. It seemed that after entering each fork, there was only a fork and no end. Ning Qing frowned a little. He planned to follow them for another hour. If these people continued to escape, he was prepared to speed up and stop them. Not even an hour had passed. In just half an incense's time, the group of black-robed men stopped. Ning Qing used his spiritual force imprint to scan the black-robed men. Including the early-stage Dao integration cultivator holding Nong Shirua, there were a total of 5 people. The early-stage Dao integration cultivator tossed Nong Shirua onto a flat piece of land in the middle of the canyon. The other 4 cultivators surrounded her from all sides. After this group of people stopped, Zhou Xing also quietly hid in a corner of the canyon. If he had not placed a spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing's body, then he might not have been able to detect Zhou Xing's traces. This fellow's concealment technique was simply too outstanding. Tell me, how can I get the Darkness Origin bead? The early-stage Dao integration man asked mildly as he looked at Nong Shirua, who he had thrown to the ground. Only now did Ning realize that Nong Shirua's Darkness Origin bead had been hidden. It seemed that without Nong Shirua's consent, these people would not be able to obtain it. Nong Shirua stood up and patted the dust off her body. She did not seem to know that no matter what she said, she would die today. Just the 6 of you? To everyone's surprise, Nong Shirua said something completely irrelevant. What did you say? The Dao Integration's Sacred Emperor looked at Nong Shirua in confusion. There were clearly 5 of them. Moreover, Nong Shirua should not be talking about this. She should be talking about how to take out the Darkness Origin bead. Nong Shirua did not say anything else. She turned slightly, and a dark aura that could not be detected by spiritual senses swept out from her body. This dark aura swept through the space in the shortest time possible. Ning Qing's heart sank. He immediately retracted his spiritual sense. This was the aura of the true darkness law. Even though this powerful darkness Dao rune was not targeted at him, he could still feel an extreme black oppression. The space was completely enveloped by darkness. The 5 experts surrounding Nong Shirua, including the early-stage Tao Integration Sacred Emperor, knew that things were not good. Although the Tao Integration Sacred Emperor was the closest to Nong Shirua, he still had the strength to take out his Dharma treasure. However, he had just taken out his Dharma treasure when he was entangled by indescribable black shadows. Ning Cheng did not use his spiritual sense to observe, but he could clearly sense that these were black shadows condensed from the powerful darkness law. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. Nong Shirua looked like she had just reached the Tao modeling stage, but she was so powerful. To be able to condense the darkness law to this extent, her understanding of the darkness law was no weaker than that of the darkness Tao Lord he had met before. The Tao Integration Sacred Emperor had only said one word when the darkness Tao runes entangling him turned into a bloody mist. The shadow lines formed by the darkness law tore the Tao Integration's Sacred Emperor apart like spatial dislocation. As for the other 4 primordial chaos cultivators, they did not even make a sound before they were killed by Nong Shirua's darkness law divine ability. Ning Cheng, who was hiding in the dark, thought to himself, "This woman is so powerful." The reason why she was abducted by these people was probably intentional. Most likely, the darkness shadow divine ability she condensed was left behind by Nong Shimu to protect her. "You've been watching for a long time. Come out." Following Nong Shirua's words, Zhou Xing, who had been hiding in a corner, was dragged out by a shadow line condensed by the darkness law and landed in front of Nong Shirua. "Fairy Nong, I accidentally broke into this place. I dare not offend Fairy Nong." Zhou Xing hurriedly cupped his fists. He had just seen Nong Shirua's strength. No matter how powerful he was probably not Nong Shirua's opponent. In fact, he had never intended to use force from the beginning. It was just that his plan had been ruined before it could even begin. This made him feel unlucky. At this time, if he did not know who the 6th person Nong Shirua had mentioned was, he might as well kill himself. "Oh, is that so? But I saw you wandering around my cave abode for half a year. What a coincidence. I was kidnapped here and you're also here," Nong Shirua said sarcastically and raised her hand again. Ning Cheng knew that Nong Shirua wanted to kill Zhou Xing, so he prepared to take action. Zhou Xing could not die. This person was still useful to him. At this moment, Ning Cheng suddenly heard a voice. "My dear niece's methods are truly powerful. Even after falling victim to Ran Tong's vicious spiritual incense-stealing technique, nothing happened to you. You even used Ran Tong's method to leave bright heaven. However, you cannot kill this Zhou Xing. He is still useful to me." Ning Cheng felt surprised. There was someone else behind him. Just like how Zhou Xing did not notice him, he also did not notice the existence of this person. He did not know if this person knew that he was hiding somewhere. According to reason, this person should not have noticed him. After all, he was following Zhou Xing's spiritual consciousness imprint. However, this kind of thing was not absolute. In case the other party knew of his existence, he would have to be more careful. Nong Shirua was also shocked. She immediately stared at a corner of the void. "Zhu Huiyang, you really never let me go, huh? If you can fool me, Zhu Huiyang, with this little trick of yours, then I would not have the face to ask for your darkness origin bead." With a loud laugh, a man wearing purple robes suddenly appeared in front of Nong Shirua and Zhou Xing. "Zhu Huiyang, your younger brother Zhu Jin is the Radiant Heavens' Sacred Lord. How much effort did my father put in for the Radiant Heavens? The reason why my father fell was because he dedicated all his heart and blood to the Radiant Heavens. My father died for the Radiant Heavens, and your Zhu clan is the biggest beneficiary. You're forcing me like this. Are you able to face your own conscience?" Nong Shirua's eyes flashed with a trace of despair. Ning Cheng finally understood. The reason why Nong Shirua did not come out of seclusion was not to guard against others, but to guard against Zhu Huiyang, the younger brother of the Radiant Heavens' Sacred Lord Zhu Jin. The reason why she allowed herself to be captured by that thief Ran Tong was also intentional. Zhu Huiyang spoke up in a calm tone. "My dear niece, I don't want your life. I don't even want your protective spiritual technique. I only want 2 things. First, you give me your darkness origin bead. Second, You hand over your father's remains to me. Ha! Nong Shirua laughed. Old man, even if I die, I will not let your filthy hands touch my father's remains. Zhu Huiyang did not get angry. Instead, he spoke in a soft voice. Dear niece, why bother? You've endured for so many years and even managed to figure out your own cultivation method. You've even cultivated to the Tao sculpting realm. You're the true genius, and your future would definitely be much better than mine. Now that you can cultivate, the darkness origin bead doesn't have much use for you. Why not give it to me? If you want to do it, then do it. Even if Nong Shimu's daughter died, she would not kneel down and beg for her life with her father's remains. Nong Shirua snapped. Zhu Huiyang's face sank. Nong Shirua, do you think that I'm as stupid as Rantong? That I can't find the darkness origin bead? As long as I completely refine you, I can refine the darkness origin bead. Nong Shirua's expression changed slightly, but she did not move. Ning Cheng secretly praised her. He knew that even if Nong Shirua handed over her father's remains, she would still fall. However, Nong Shirua's temperament made him admire her. From the looks of it, this Zhu Huiyang had entered the third step for a long time. Ning Cheng was very familiar with the third step world creation realm. He had fought against many third step experts, but this Zhu Huiyang's third step was not very successful. At best, he was on the same level as Feng Huangmin. Presumably, this fellow knew of his own shortcomings, which was why he wanted the darkness origin bead to improve his world creation realm. Chapter 1408. When Zhu Huiyang saw that Nong Shirua was indifferent, he snorted coldly and a powerful world domain of laws closed in. Creation realm experts had their own realms even if they were in a false realm. Ning Cheng had fought against many world creation realm powerhouses before. Therefore, the moment Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-realm descended, he knew that Zhu Huiyang wanted to take away Zhou Xing and Nong Shirua. If he was at his peak, he could have killed Zhu Huiyang with a single slap. Ning Cheng was very clear that the difference between his current strength and his peak was just too great. Dealing with Zhou Xing was still possible, but dealing with Zhu Huiyang might be a little dangerous. Therefore, Ning Cheng naturally did not want to let Zhu Huiyang take away the darkness origin bead. Just as Ning Cheng was thinking about how to deal with Zhu Huiyang, Nong Shirua made her move. Her body shook violently on the spot, and an endless dark aura came crashing down from the sky. Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world immediately slowed down. Laws of darkness formed an incomparably oppressive aura that swept towards Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng knew that this was the method Nong Shirua used to deal with that early-stage Dao integration cultivator. However, this method might not work on Zhu Huiyang. Indeed, Zhu Huiyang laughed coldly. Amidst the overwhelming black aura, he took a step forward and grabbed Nong Shirua's head. The dark shadow aura that tore the Dao integration Divine Emperor into several pieces could only reach a distance of 5 feet from Zhu Huiyang before it could advance any further. Even though Zhu Huiyang's palm was slightly slow under the influence of Nong Shirua's laws of darkness sacred art, it did not slow down at all. Although Ning Cheng knew that some of Nong Shirua's spirit techniques had been blocked by Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world boundary, Zhu Huiyang didn't seem to be affected by Nong Shirua's laws of darkness spirit technique at all. This showed that Zhu Huiyang's strength was much higher than his own. Ning Cheng felt somewhat tangled in his heart, whether he should start or not. If he were to make a move, it was very likely that he would be trapped. He dared to confirm that the current him was not Zhu Huiyang's match. But there was a knot in his heart if he didn't act. Not to mention that the darkness origin bead was in Nong Shirua's possession. He admired Nong Shirua's personality. A look of despair appeared on Nong Shirua's face as she watched the palm slowly approach the top of her head. If they were in her immortal cave, she would still have the means to break Zhu Huiyang's hands seal sacred art. But here, without the protection of the array formation, she was really powerless. Unfortunately, she was too impatient. If she had waited a little longer, when her cultivation was a little higher, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. As long as Zhu Huiyang's palm landed on Nong Shirua's head, Nong Shirua would be like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Once the difference in strength reached a certain level, Nong Shirua's sacred art would no longer be able to protect her, and the weakness of her sacred art would immediately be revealed. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and decided to start. Since he had chosen the path of cultivation, in a situation where he could either fight or escape, he must not leave a shadow in his heart. If he was going to die, then he was going to die. There was no need to be so wishy-washy. Moreover, he might not necessarily be dead. Even if he failed, as long as he could escape long enough to bring out the starry sky wheel, he would still have a chance to survive. Pff. Ning Cheng hadn't even made a move when Nong Shirua spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Her defensive spirit technique instantly weakened. Nong Shirua sighed. She knew that she had hurt her foundation and could no longer block Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng, on seeing Nong Shirua in such a situation, knew that it would be too late if he didn't act now. Therefore, he did not hesitate to bring out the 5-colored star splitter arrow. If he wanted to fight head-on, he definitely wouldn't be a match for Zhu Huiyang. At this moment, he was hiding in the shadows. While Zhu Huiyang and Nong Shirua were in a deadlock, only the 5-colored star splitter arrow posed the biggest threat to him. Zhu Huiyang's barrier gradually closed. Even if Nong Shirua activated her defensive sacred art, she could only wait for death. As for Zhou Xing, he was blankly wrapped by the pseudo-realm and darkness god art. He didn't dare to move at all. At this moment, a terrifying killing intent suddenly rushed into this stalemate. The overwhelming killing intent completely locked down this pseudo-realm. The killing intent that seemed to engulf the entire Thunder God Canyon locked onto Zhu Huiyang. Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world suddenly stopped and a trace of fear appeared on his face. He was all too familiar with this kind of killing intent. Back in the 5-colored star splitter public square, the 5-colored star splitter bow had also emitted this kind of killing intent. The sharpness of this killing intent seemed to be even stronger than the 5-colored star splitter bow. Who could it be? Who took away the 5-colored star splitter bow? An aura of death permeated his entire consciousness from the bottom of his heart. At this moment, he didn't dare to move. He was afraid that the slightest movement would trigger the killing intent, and he would be torn apart by the 5-colored star splitter bow's invisible arrow intent. 5-colored star splitter arrow. At the same time, Nong Shirua's heart trembled. She had grabbed the 5-colored star splitter bow before. Naturally, she was very familiar with the aura coming from it. Because of this, when the killing intent swept over, she immediately knew that it wasn't the 5-colored star splitter bow, but the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Although the 5-colored star splitter arrow didn't bind her, she still didn't dare to move. Under this terrifying killing intent, it felt as if she would wake up the 5-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent if she moved. Who was this person who followed her all the way here? Did he possess the 5-colored star splitter arrow? Moreover, he was helping her out. Even after fusing with the laws of darkness, Ning Cheng's face still turned paler. His 5-colored star splitter arrow couldn't even lock down Zhu Huiyang. Moreover, Zhu Huiyang feared the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Otherwise, Zhu Huiyang might have already broken free from this killing intent and killed him. Dao Monarch Darkness, that son of a bitch, Ning Cheng cursed in his heart. If it weren't for Dao Monarch Darkness holding back, it wouldn't have been so difficult for him even if he was only in the Dao Birth realm. His essence blood continued to burn, but the 5-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent continued to lock down on him. A subtle sound emerged, and the Dao charm around Ning Cheng's body turned chaotic. Ning Cheng sighed and shot the 5-colored star splitter arrow. With his strength, he couldn't lock down Zhu Huiyang with the 5-colored star splitter arrow. This arrow might only injure Zhu Huiyang. The 5-colored star splitter arrow that hadn't been shot was the most terrifying. Once he couldn't control the killing intent and shot it, the threat of the 5-colored star splitter arrow would drop to its lowest. Almost at the same time as the 5-colored star splitter arrow shot out, Ning Cheng rushed over and pointed out with a finger. It was the law-breaking finger fused with the laws of darkness. The 5-colored star splitter arrow directly broke through Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-realm and slammed into Zhu Huiyang's chest. The aura of Dao charm clashed with the 5-colored star splitter arrow and Zhu Huiyang's chest, and the explosion of the Dao charm contained some flesh and blood. Poof! The 5-colored star splitter arrow finally passed through Zhu Huiyang's body and brought out a bloody mist behind him. Zhu Huiyang's Dao charm aura turned chaotic, but Zhu Huiyang didn't panic. Instead, he felt happy. This arrow wasn't as powerful as he had imagined, nor did it completely destroy his Dao charm. From this, one could tell that the person who shot this arrow had a huge difference in strength compared to him. Die for me. In a hurry, Zhu Huiyang didn't even have the time to bring out a weapon. Instead, he punched towards Ning Cheng. Boom! Zhu Huiyang's punch and Ning Cheng's law-breaking finger collided, creating a maelstrom of Dao charm. Zhu Huiyang's punch felt like an exploding sun, bringing with it a horrifying hot aura. However, Ning Cheng's finger directly broke through the temperature of Zhu Huiyang's exploding sun and struck the center. Everything was annihilated by this collision. Ning Cheng was just like a kite with a broken string, as he was directly sent flying out, crashing into a canyon wall. Zhu Huiyang also felt the Dao charm around his body weaken, and the laws of heaven and earth also weakened at this moment. His pseudo-realm finally shattered with a kacha sound. Zhu Huiyang opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence, feeling horrified in his heart. He finally saw Ning Cheng's strength clearly. How could a Dao birth ant be so terrifying? He couldn't let this ant live. He had to kill the other party. Just as Zhu Huiyang was about to step forward and kill Ning Cheng, his body tightened. Laws of darkness surged towards him. At this moment, he felt as if he had fallen into the darkness, without any signs of life. Niece, let's talk. Zhu Huiyang's heart was filled with endless regret. He knew that Nong Shirua, who was close to him, had launched a sneak attack. Nong Shirua naturally wouldn't stop. She was bleeding from all 7 orifices, but she still waved her hand and rolled up a Law of Darkness spirit technique to wrap around Zhu Huiyang. A bloody mist rolled up. The pitiful Zhu Huiyang, an expert from the pseudo-realm, had been turned into a bloody mist by Nong Shirua's darkness spirit technique after being severely injured by Ning Cheng. Even his primordial spirit had been destroyed by the darkness spirit technique. After Nong Shirua killed Zhu Huiyang, she could no longer stand. She also retreated dozens of steps until she was not far from Ning Cheng. Only then did she fall to the side of the canyon. Haha. Zhou Xing jumped up from the ground and laughed. I never thought that I would be the only one left. The 5-colored star splitter arrow and the darkness origin bead are all mine. Zhou Xing took a few steps and arrived in front of Ning Cheng. He then raised his hand and slapped towards Ning Cheng. To him, the biggest threat here wasn't Nong Shirua, who could no longer move, but Ning Cheng, who could even kill Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng's Dao charm was scattered. He had overdrawn himself to kill an expert like Zhu Huiyang. Whether it was the 5-colored star splitter arrow or the law finger, he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. What's more, his primordial spirit was in chaos and he was still unconscious. Zhou Xing wouldn't slowly kill Ning Cheng. Only when Ning Cheng was dead would he be safe. Poof! Zhou Xing's hand slapped out a bloody mist. He stopped in time and looked at Nong Shirua in shock and anger. Do you want to die? He never expected that Nong Shirua would use her body to block this attack for Ning Cheng. He didn't want to kill Nong Shirua right now. Zhu Huiyang might have a way to refine Nong Shirua's darkness origin bead, but he didn't have that ability. You're the one who's going to die. Nong Shirua weakly spat out these 4 words. She then fell onto Ning Cheng's body and stopped breathing. Zhou Xing looked down at his chest in disbelief. An extremely terrifying darkness aura swept over him. This darkness aura felt very familiar to him. Then he saw his body shatter into pieces. His primordial spirit also gradually turned blurry and disappeared within these fragments. At this moment he finally understood why Nong Shirua had taken dozens of steps back to arrive in front of Ning Cheng. It turned out that this woman already knew who his target was. That's why she was waiting here to plot against him. This woman was truly terrifying. This canyon, which was filled with a noisy murderous aura, was now completely silent except for the faint smell of blood lingering in the air. Chapter 1409. Ning Cheng was the first to wake up. He felt a tightness in his chest and immediately saw Nong Shirua lying unconscious on top of his chest. Nong Shirua was covered in blood and her face was pale. Her originally glossy hair had also turned yellow. As Ning Cheng struggled to get up, his gaze swept towards Zhou Xing, who was not far from him. Zhou Xing's death was exactly the same as the early-stage Dao integration cultivator who had kidnapped Nong Shirua. Clearly, Nong Shirua had killed Zhou Xing. In a short time, Ning Cheng deduced the general situation of the matter. After Nong Shirua had killed Zhu Huiyang, she had saved him just as Zhou Xing was about to kill him, risking her life to kill Zhou Xing. After all, Zhou Xing couldn't have killed Nong Shirua before killing him. Now that Zhou Xing had died and Nong Shirua had fainted on top of him, it meant that Zhou Xing had been killed by Nong Shirua while trying to kill him. Ning Cheng swallowed a few pills. After his injuries healed a little, he raised his hand and threw out some array flags. After a few breaths, Dao runes condensed and formed a Dao rune image. Sure enough, it was just as he had guessed. After killing Zhu Huiyang, Nong Shirua had deliberately fallen beside him and used the opportunity to kill Zhou Xing. Ning Cheng took a deep breath, took out a few pills and put them into Nong Shirua's mouth. He hadn't expected Nong Shirua to be so grateful for saving his life. He had just saved her life, and she had returned the favor. She was a very proud woman who could distinguish between gratitude and grudges. This was the most dangerous move he had ever made. Although he had expected it, the result wasn't that bad. He had only lost a portion of his lifespan and essence blood, but it hadn't affected his Dao heart. Ning Cheng put away the array flags and disrupted the Dao rune aura. He raised his hand and threw out a flame to destroy the place. Then he grabbed a few rings and left the place with Nong Shirua in his arms. Ning Cheng didn't leave Lightning God Canyon. Instead, he opened up a new cave abode far away. After setting up the defense array, Ning Cheng waited for Nong Shirua to wake up. Nong Shirua's injuries had damaged her foundation, and her cultivation was only at the Dao modeling realm. Ning Cheng had too many Dao pills on him. It would be easy for him to save Nong Shirua. Ning Cheng didn't have to wait long. Just over an hour after he finished arranging the defensive array, Nong Shirua woke up. She sat up in amazement, raised her head and looked around, before her eyes finally fell on Ning Cheng and spoke, "Many thanks to this friend for saving my life." Nong Shirua could be considered delicate and pretty. Her lips were neither thin nor thick, giving off a gentle feeling. Although her hair had withered and turned yellow, it added to her fragile beauty. In addition, Ning Cheng was already very grateful towards Nong Shirua, which made Nong Shirua even more pleasing to the eye. Fairy Nong's words are too serious. If not for Fairy Nong's help, I'm afraid that I would have already died at the hands of Zhu Huiyang or Zhou Xing. Speaking of which, Fairy Nong has already saved me twice. Nong Shirua smiled slightly. You saved me first. My father has always taught me that if I don't repay kindness, I'm no different from a dog, much less a cultivator. When Ning Cheng heard these words, he immediately felt deep respect for Nong Shimu. What he respected the most were people who knew how to repay kindness. Since Nong Zimu could teach his daughter this way, he was naturally a person who knew how to repay kindness. Fairy Nong, my name is Ning Cheng. From now on, Fairy Nong can just call me by my name. Ning Cheng said respectfully to Nong Shirua. Nong Shirua bowed slightly. Big brother Ning's cultivation far surpasses mine, so you can just call me Shirua. I'm not a fairy. Nong Shirua paused for a moment before continuing. Since Big Brother Ning passed by my cave for the first time, you must have come for the darkness origin bead, right? After saying this, Nong Shirua stared at Ning Cheng. Although Ning Cheng had saved her, and she vaguely felt that Ning Cheng wasn't a thick-skinned person, she couldn't be sure if Ning Cheng had saved her because of the darkness origin bead. Ning Cheng's heart skipped a beat, and an awkward expression appeared on his face. Nong Shirua actually knew that he had been following her. He didn't know why Nong Shirua had pointed out Zhou Xing's weakness, but not him. I'm very sorry. It's because I really wanted the darkness origin bead. That's why I wanted to exchange it with you. Ning Cheng said apologetically. Nong Shirua showed a faint smile. It's nothing. In fact, as long as you refine me, you can obtain the darkness origin bead. Who would want someone else to refine them? Ning Cheng stood up in embarrassment and said, I really wanted to exchange with you. If you don't want to, then I naturally wouldn't do such an ungrateful thing. Not to mention that you and I have no enmity, and that you even saved my life. Even if I had enmity with you, I would only take revenge and snatch the origin bead. Refining a person and obtaining the origin bead is not something that I, Ning Cheng, would do. Big Brother Ning, please sit down. I was just testing you. I hope Big Brother Ning can forgive me and not mind. Nong Shiruo respectfully bowed towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng nodded and didn't speak again. He knew that Nong Shiruo's probing wasn't excessive. After all, he and Nong Shiruo had only met for the first time, and they weren't even friends. Can I ask, Big Brother Ning, why do you want the darkness origin bead? Seeing that Ning Cheng didn't have any intention of forcibly snatching it, Nong Shiruo asked. Ning Cheng pondered over it for a while before speaking. My cultivation method has something to do with origin. Moreover, I also have a world. If I could obtain the darkness origin bead, then it would be a step closer to perfection. Nong Shiruo nodded on hearing Ning Cheng's words. When you arrived at the entrance of my immortal cave, I sensed that you also cultivated an origin cultivation method. Because of this, I plan to talk to you face to face after dealing with that person. I just didn't expect Zhu Huiyang to be so scheming. I suspect that Ran Tong's actions also had something to do with Zhu Huiyang. No wonder he didn't expose the matter of him following him. It turned out that he sensed that he cultivated an origin cultivation method. You don't have to worry. If I didn't guess wrong, your cultivation should have dropped a lot. Once your cultivation recovers, even if I have the origin bead and cultivate an origin cultivation method, I wouldn't be able to detect it. Nong Shiruo saw that Ning Cheng remained silent and tried to comfort him. Ning Cheng didn't want to talk about his origin cultivation method, so he changed the topic. Was Ran Tong working for someone? Nong Shiruo gave an "in" sound and spoke with certainty. Ran Tong definitely worked for someone, and the person behind him wasn't Zhu Huiyang. I suspect that it was Zhu Jin, but I don't have any evidence. Zhu Jin? The sacred master of the radiant sacred domain? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. Nong Shiruo sighed. He was indeed the sacred master of the radiant sacred domain, and he was my father's best friend. My father died for the radiant sacred domain, but he coveted my darkness origin bead. How do you know that Zhu Jin coveted your darkness origin bead? Ning Cheng felt puzzled. Nong Shiruo's eyes showed a trace of helplessness. Before my father died, he told me that he suspected Zhu Jin of plotting against him. Unfortunately, he didn't have any way to find the answer. He told me that if Zhu Jin really plotted against him, then I could only stay in the Sacred Master region and live in the same region as Zhu Jin. Only then would I have a chance to keep my life. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. If Zhu Jin really was behind this, then they would be in grave danger in the Thunder God Canyon. As if seeing through Ning Cheng's thoughts, Nong Shiruo spoke up calmly. We are the safest here. It's just like when I lived in the Radiant Sacred Domain's Sacred Master region. As long as I lived there, Zhu Jin wouldn't touch me, or at least, wouldn't dare to touch me. Now that Zhu Huiyang has fallen in the Thunder God Canyon, this is also the safest place. Then what will you do? Ning Cheng looked at Nong Shiruo. If Nong Shiruo couldn't find a way, then once he found the universe surface of this universe, he could take Nong Shiruo away. Nong Shiruo raised her hand and rubbed her head before speaking in an extremely calm voice. I won't go back to the Sacred Master region. It wasn't easy for me to leave the Sacred Master region, so I've already made my plans. Nong Shiruo didn't say where she planned to go, and Ning Cheng didn't ask again. You said that you want to use the Darkness Origin Bead to perfect your world. Is your world a top-grade primal chaos world? Nong Shiruo once again brought back Ning Cheng's previous words. Although the 5 elements primal chaos world also needed something like the origin bead, Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't hide it from Nong Shiruo. He nodded and didn't speak. The Good Fortune world was also known as the primal chaos world by some people. Nong Shiruo remained silent for a while before suddenly speaking up. Big Brother Ning, if you believe me, then don't continue looking for the origin bead to perfect your world. Don't even try to merge with your world and use it to reach the 3rd step. But Ning Cheng didn't intend to use the mysterious yellow bead to reach the 3rd step, but if he chose to use the origin bead to perfect his world, then why not? Nong Shiruo looked at Ning Cheng and said in a solemn voice, Big Brother Ning, There are countless ways to reach the third step. For example, Zhu Huiyang was also considered to be at the third step. But with Zhu Huiyang's strength, he was like an ant in front of my father. Even Zhu Jin of the Sacred Master region could easily crush Zhu Huiyang. That's because his third step is the ant world, also known as the false world. Ning Qing already knew about this, but he didn't expect Nong Shirua to know about it as well. If Nong Shimu had told Nong Shirua about this, then Nong Shimu's understanding of the Grand Tao was extremely deep. If such a person died early, then it would be a loss. Nong Shirua's tone turned even more solemn. Big Brother Ning, the true creation world is to use one's own laws to condense one's own world. If I'm not wrong, Big Brother Ning, you should have already found the 5 elements origin bead to perfect your world. Moreover, your cultivation method is also closely related to the origin. Ning Qing couldn't help but admire Nong Shirua's insight. He simply admitted it. That's right, it's indeed as you said. Nong Shirua nodded and continued. My father told me that a true third-step powerhouse is able to evolve their own laws, condense their own world origin and construct their own world. They don't rely on any external origin, nor do they rely on any heavenly treasures. Condense one's own origin. Nong Shirua's words flashed through Ning Cheng's spiritual sense like a bolt of lightning. He already vaguely understood this, but it wasn't very deep. He had always thought that he had used the origin of heaven and earth to perfect the mysterious yellow bead, and then used the cultivation method derived from the mysterious yellow bead to reach the third step, which was the strongest third step. But after listening to Nong Shirua's words, he suddenly understood. The third step he thought was indeed strong, but he still had to rely on the treasures of heaven and earth. Even if he condensed a new world, it wouldn't be his own origin. No wonder Nong Shirua showed a look of pity. It was because he had already condensed the 5 elements origin bead. Chapter 1410. Did your father say that if someone like me has fused with another origin, and my cultivation method is also derived from the origin of the world? Is there a way to solve this problem? Ning Qing asked. Nong Shirua shook her head. My father didn't condense his own origin and derive his own law world. He naturally didn't have such a solution. These are all things he suddenly comprehended after obtaining the origin bead and before he died. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Ning Qing suddenly thought of Nian Yan. He felt that Nong Shirua and Nian Yan were very similar. Both were extremely intelligent people, and both had a kind of ethereal nature that was hard to describe. Seeing Ning Qing remain silent, Nong Shirua thought that Ning Qing was regretting it. After all, not everyone could obtain a primal chaos world. If one obtained a primal chaos world and ended up being bound by it, it would be strange if they didn't regret it. Big Brother Ning, you don't have to regret it. In fact, as long as you don't merge your primal chaos world, you are still one of the strongest third-step powerhouses. The universe is vast, and how many people can truly condense their own origin and derive their own world? Nong Shirua comforted him. Ning Qing laughed, and the subtle thoughts between his eyebrows disappeared without a trace. Since you call me Big Brother, I'll pretend to be older. Sister Shirua, I, Ning Qing, will never regret such a thing. Even if I had to do it again, I would still cultivate the same way. Ning Qing wasn't speaking nonsense. If he had to do it again, he would still use the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate the mysterious yellow formless. Just think about it, he was a person without any foundation. Even though he had the mysterious yellow formless, he did not use it to cultivate, but instead wanted to use that kind of illusory source derived by himself to cultivate his own cultivation method, unless he had gone crazy. Nong Shirua showed a look of approval. Although there was a trace of regret behind it, there was nothing he could do about it. Ning Qing completely let go of his unwillingness. He didn't believe that he didn't have a path that belonged to him. The reason he couldn't find it wasn't that there wasn't such a path, but that his realm was limited and he couldn't find it. Big Brother Ning, the darkness origin bead is the most precious thing my father left to me. My father exchanged his life for it. I can't exchange it with you. Even if you use your primal chaos world to exchange for it, I can't. Those are the memories of my loved ones. Nong Shirua spoke to Ning Cheng in a serious tone after Ning Cheng calmed down. Although Ning Cheng felt some regret in his heart, but he was not disappointed, and still spoke with respect. I understand your thoughts. If it were me, then perhaps I would not be able to exchange it. I can't give the darkness origin bead to you, but I can lend it to you to comprehend. I've seen your darkness nomological divine ability, and it's missing a quintessential Tao rune. After you comprehend the darkness origin bead, you'll gain something. Nong Shirua's words made Ning Cheng feel overjoyed. In fact, at this moment he no longer cared about obtaining the darkness origin bead. Now that Nong Shirua was willing to lend him the darkness origin bead, it would be of great help to him. Ning Cheng knew that condensing his own origin would be the most powerful world. Even if he reached the full circle of Tao integration, he wouldn't be able to understand how to condense his own origin to derive a world. Now, with the help of the darkness origin bead, he could perfect his darkness-type laws and increase his strength. After Nong Shirua finished speaking, she raised her hand and grabbed a fist-sized black bead. When Ning Cheng saw this bead, he felt as if he was looking at a pitch-black world. As long as his eyes and spiritual consciousness came into contact with this bead, the darkness within the bead would devour them and disappear. Ning Cheng secretly marveled in his heart. This darkness origin bead's origin aura was even better than the 5 elements origin bead he had obtained before. No wonder even Bright Radiance Sacred Lord Jujin coveted this bead. Fortunately, Tao Monarch Darkness hadn't obtained this bead. If Tao Monarch Darkness had obtained this bead, then even Xing Shi would have feared him. When Ning Cheng took the darkness origin bead, he immediately felt a pitch-black Tao rune vortex wrap around him and drag him into an abyss. Darkness origin aura lingered around him, and all the darkness-type laws became extremely clear. Ning Cheng quickly wrapped the darkness origin bead in a restriction and thanked Nong Shirua with some excitement. Nong Shirua smiled slightly. If you hadn't saved me, this darkness origin bead would have been snatched away. If it weren't for the fact that this darkness origin bead belonged to my father, I would have given it to you. It was a simple sentence, but it showed Nong Shirua's great spirit. Ning Cheng quickly said, "It's already a huge favor for me to borrow the darkness origin bead. I don't dare to ask for this origin bead again." Nong Shirua said with a straight face, "I can't give you the darkness origin bead, but I still want to repay you for saving my life." When Ning Cheng heard this, he immediately felt ashamed. He had saved Nong Shirua once, and Nong Shirua had saved him twice. She even lent him the darkness origin bead and said that she wanted to repay him for saving her life. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Just as Ning Cheng was about to refuse, Nong Shirua raised her hand and stopped Ning Cheng. "Big brother Ning, I couldn't cultivate before. After my father died, I stayed at home to derive my own cultivation method. That's why I don't have many friends, not to mention a life-saving friend like Big Brother Ning." Ning Cheng's heart suddenly moved. Only then did he realize that Nong Shirua's cultivation method was derived by him. How much talent and perseverance did it take? In other words, in the future, Nong Shirua would most likely condense her own 5-element origin and step into the creation realm. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng sighed. People really couldn't be compared to each other. He had the creation mysterious yellow bead, but even now, he didn't dare to think about condensing his own origin. Yet, Nong Shirua had already walked on this path. The great Tao truly treated everyone equally. Maybe you had good luck and obtained a lot of cultivation resources. But in the end, you might not be able to stand at the same height as someone who didn't obtain any treasures. To succeed, talent, luck, and hard work were all indispensable. But the most important thing was not talent or luck, but hard work. This truth was applicable everywhere. Big Brother Ning, you should have heard that the 5-colored star splitter bow on the 5-colored star splitter square was obtained by my father, right? Before my father sent the bow into the square, he had engraved a mark on it. As long as it's within 10,000 miles of the 5-colored star splitter square, I can recall the 5-colored star splitter bow at any time. Ning Cheng looked at Nong Shirua in amazement. He couldn't understand why Nong Shimu had taken out the 5-colored star splitter bow in the first place. Nong Shirua knew what Ning Cheng was thinking. She sighed and said, When my father obtained the 5-colored star splitter bow, he knew that it didn't have any arrows and would only be of limited help to him. Moreover, there were too many people coveting this bow. He even heard rumors that Zhu Huiyang wanted to exchange it with him. My father and Zhu Jin had a deep friendship, but he looked down on Zhu Huiyang. So he simply engraved the bow on the 5-colored star splitter square so that no one could covet this bow. When my father was about to die, he felt that Zhu Jin was playing tricks behind his back and gave me the method to recall the 5-colored star splitter bow. He also told me that if I couldn't find the 5-colored star splitter arrow, I should never recall the 5-colored star splitter bow. At this point, Nong Shirua looked at Ning Cheng and said, "I didn't expect you to have the 5-colored star splitter arrow on you. It looks like this bow belongs to you." After saying that, Nong Shirua took out a black jade talisman and handed it to Ning Cheng. This jade talisman is the talisman to recall the 5-colored star splitter bow. Without this jade talisman, no matter how strong you are, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to take away the 5-colored star splitter bow. Although Ning Cheng knew that Nong Shirua had already repaid him, he still couldn't help but take the jade talisman. He had come to the radiant sacred domain to do two things. The first was to take away the 5-colored star splitter bow, and the second was to take away the darkness origin bead. Now that Nong Shirua gave him the jade talisman to recall the 5-colored star splitter bow, he couldn't refuse it. He also knew that Nong Shirua wasn't talking nonsense. If the 5-colored star splitter bow could be taken away so easily, it wouldn't have remained standing on the 5-colored star splitter square until now. Many thanks, Sister Shirua. I can't refuse this jade talisman. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and thanked her before carefully putting away the jade talisman. He sighed in his heart. He had thought that Nong Shimu had voluntarily placed the 5-colored star splitter bow on the 5-colored star splitter square. But from the looks of it, that wasn't the case at all. Nong Shimu probably knew that if he didn't take out the 5-colored star splitter bow, he wouldn't be at peace. Moreover, he was already seriously injured when he snatched the 5-colored star splitter bow. This kind of restlessness was fatal to him. What he didn't understand was why Nong Shimu would come to the Thunder God Canyon to snatch the darkness origin bead even though he knew that he was seriously injured. Nong Shirua saw Ning Cheng put away the jade talisman and said, "You must be wondering why my father participated in the fight for the darkness origin bead, right? In fact, there are two reasons. First, the darkness origin bead is very important to me. Second, my father had no choice but to go." Nong Shirua didn't explain why he had to go. Instead, she showed an indignant look on her face. After my father obtained the darkness origin bead, someone asked him why he didn't place the darkness origin bead on the square and let it become a symbol of radiant tomorrow. Ning Cheng froze. How could there be such a shameless person? That person had risked his life to obtain it. Why should it be placed on the square as a symbol of radiant tomorrow? Besides, shouldn't the symbol of radiant tomorrow be the radiant origin bead? My father was filled with grief and indignation. Unfortunately, his spiritual soul was about to dissipate at that time and couldn't take me away. Otherwise, my father would have definitely taken me away. After my father died, he told me that if I couldn't derive my own cultivation method from the darkness origin bead, then I shouldn't leave the sacred Lord region. Fortunately, I did it today. After Nong Shirua finished speaking, she looked at the restrictions outside the cave and seemed to recall her father's dying words. After a long time, she retracted her gaze and looked at Ning Cheng. "Big brother Ning, you should go cultivate. I also have to start healing. When you finish comprehending the darkness origin bead, I will also leave this place." Leave this place? Ning Cheng wanted to ask Nong Shirua where she wanted to go, but he held back in the end. He couldn't help Nong Shirua with his current strength. Only by using the darkness origin bead could he thoroughly comprehend the laws of darkness and restore his strength. Chapter 14:11. In bright brightness, Nong Shimu was definitely a symbol. Every time bright brightness and darkness heaven fought, Nong Shimu was the mainstay. Not only that, Nong Shimu also placed the 5-colored star splitter bow in bright brightness's public square to protect it. Perhaps the five-colored star splitter arrow only played a symbolic role, but this symbolic role was more important than a peerless powerhouse. What's more, Nong Shimu also sacrificed his life for brightness. If he hadn't been seriously injured during the battle with Darkness Heaven, he wouldn't have fallen while snatching the Darkness Origin bead. Because of this, apart from a few disgusting people, most people in brightness supported Nong Shimu's decision to leave the Darkness Origin bead to his daughter. He had already died for brightness. What was wrong with leaving the Darkness Origin bead to his daughter? No one dared to touch Nong Shirua in the Sacred Lord region. Apart from the protective spirit techniques and powerful defensive arrays left behind by Nong Shimu, it also had something to do with Nong Shimu's great reputation. Now that Nong Shirua, who lived in the Sacred Lord region, had been taken away by bandits, no one knew if she was dead or alive. Not only the Sacred Lord region, but the entire Radiant Sacred Domain was in an uproar. Sacred Lord Jujin personally went out to hunt down the bandits who kidnapped Nong Shirua. Unfortunately, after several months, there was no news at all. No matter how big the matter was, people would gradually forget it after a long time. However, there was one person who couldn't forget it. That person was Tang Hua, who also lived in the Sacred Lord region. Her grandfather was one of the top 10 powerhouses of the Radiant Sacred Domain, Tangshi. A Tao Lord of the Radiant Sacred Domain, even the Radiant Sacred Lord had to show him enough respect. The reason why Tangshi couldn't forget it was because she suspected that it wasn't the bandits who did it, but Ning Cheng. Before coming to the Radiant Sacred Domain with her, Ning Cheng seemed to care a lot about the Darkness Origin bead and even asked about it. Later, after Nong Shirua was kidnapped, she tried contacting Ning Cheng, but there was no reply. This made her frown. Although the Radiant Sacred Domain's powerhouses spoke, even if Ning Cheng wanted the Darkness Origin bead, he shouldn't have touched Nong Shirua. Just when she was still wondering if Ning Cheng was the one who kidnapped Nong Shirua, a message fell into her hands. Tang Hua quickly put away her thoughts, stood up and hurriedly walked out. This was her grandfather's summon order. As long as it wasn't an important matter, anyone who received this token from the Tang clan had to immediately go to the assembly hall. When Tang Hua hurriedly rushed to the discussion hall, her grandfather was already sitting on the seat of honor, and there were already dozens of people seated on both sides. The Tang family was a large family in the Holy Land of Light. Those who could sit here were all important figures of the Tang family. Grandfather. After Tang Hua came in, she first bowed to her grandfather. Even though her grandfather doted on her the most, she was still a member of the younger generation of the Tang family, and a woman at that. The man sitting at the head of the table didn't look old. He looked like a middle-aged man with a pale face and no facial hair. This was the Tang clan's ancestor, Tangshi, and also Tang Hua's grandfather. When Tangshi saw Tang Hua come in, he revealed a trace of a smile. You're here. Take a seat first. Yes, grandfather. Tang Hua saluted again before retreating to the right side and sitting down. A few moments later, a few more people came in. Uncle, everyone is here. The short-haired man sitting on the first seat on the left stood up and bowed. Tangshi nodded. Since everyone is here, I won't speak any nonsense. You might not understand why I gave the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury to Tang Hua, but no matter what, this is my Tang family's matter. If anyone dares to speak about this matter, then don't blame me for being impolite. Father, the opportunity to enter the Radiant Treasury, even the Sacred Lord is reluctant to give it to others. This is also an opportunity for my Tang family. Although niece Tang Hua's talent is very high, she still needs to go through an assessment before entering. And I heard people say that Tang Hua actually gave the matter of participating in the assessment to a young guard. This is simply... A blue-haired youth stood up and said, but he did not finish his words, as if he was choked by anger. Although the Radiant Treasury was opened by the Sacred Lord, the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury were not completely controlled by the Sacred Lord. The Sacred Lord only controlled 3 of the 5 array flags needed to open the Radiant Treasury, while the other 2 were in the hands of the 10 Tao monarchs of the Holy Land. Because of this, even the Sacred Lord cared about the treasures in the Radiant Treasury. Tang Hua's expression turned ugly. The one who spoke was her youngest uncle. Apart from Liz, no one else knew that she was looking for Ning Cheng to participate in the qualification assessment to enter the Radiant Treasury. From this, it could be seen that Liz had also come to the Holy Land and even provoked the Tang family. Tang Shi also frowned slightly. He looked at Tang Hua and asked, Is there such a thing? Tang Hua stood up and walked to the middle of the hall before bowing and speaking. Grandpa gave me the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury. Does it mean that if I can get in, then everything inside will belong to me? Tang Shi nodded. That's right. Since it's given to you, then you can get what you want. Naturally, no one will compete with you for it. You are also the disciple with the best qualifications in my Tang family. Therefore, the Radiant Treasury would be the most useful to you. Tang Hua breathed a sigh of relief and spoke up without any hurry. Grandpa, in that case, whether I can get in the Radiant Treasury or not is my own business. That being said, being able to go in and not being able to make a difference. Tang Shi frowned. Tang Hua, you are the disciple with the best qualifications in my Tang family. You can't waste such an opportunity. You should give up the qualifications to enter the treasury. Let us get the qualifications first, then you can choose what you want. The short-haired man sitting on the first seat on the left stood up once again and spoke with a slightly reprimanding tone. Tang Hua sneered in her heart. If she gave up the opportunity and let others enter the treasury, then it would be strange if she could get anything. However, on the surface, she still calmly bowed to the short-haired man and spoke. Uncle, my father died in the void for the Tang family. Grandpa took pity on me, so he gave me the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury. Even if I couldn't get anything, Grandpa would still take pity on me. May I ask, Uncle, why are you reprimanding me? The short-haired man paused for a moment. Before he could speak, Tang Shi waved his hand and spoke. Let's leave this matter as it is. Don't talk about it anymore. No matter how Tang Hua deals with it, this matter is Tang Hua's own business. Everyone, let's talk about how Nong Shimu's cave's defensive restrictions were broken and Nong Shirua disappeared. Who did this? Wasn't it the road robber Ran Tong? Idiot, how could a road robber break into Nong Shimu's cave? In the depths of the Thunder God Canyon, Ning Cheng, who had been in seclusion for 2 years, suddenly stood up. He casually raised his hand, and a dark aura that almost swallowed up the space around him swept up. It's finally done. Dao Monarch Darkness, that old fart, is really cunning. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief and immediately retracted his hand. The dark aura swept up along with his hand and disappeared without a trace. If he hadn't come here by luck, he would have definitely suffered when facing Dao Monarch Darkness in the future. Congratulations, Big Brother Ning. You've mastered the law of darkness, and your cultivation has improved greatly. Nong Shirua's voice came from the door. Ning Cheng happily walked out of the cave and handed the darkness origin bead to Nong Shirua. He then cupped his fist towards her and said, Many thanks, Sister Shi. If not for your darkness origin bead, I wouldn't have achieved what I have today. Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel happy. Not only had he completely recovered his cultivation, but because of the darkness origin bead, his control over the law of darkness was completely different from before. Without Nong Shirua, Ning Cheng was sure that he wouldn't have fully recovered his strength in just 2 years and reached the peak of Dao integration. Nong Shirua happily put away the darkness origin bead. In 2 years, her cultivation had also recovered, and her strength had also improved. Most importantly, from now on, no one would be able to restrain her as she pleased, and no one would be able to restrain her. Although Ning Cheng was anxious about chasing Bull in the 9 Reliance rest stop, he still took out a jade box and handed it to Nong Shirua. Sister Shirua, thank you for your help. I don't have anything good, and this bead isn't of much use to me. I'll give it to you. Nong Shirua didn't care about it and took the bead Ning Cheng handed to her. Thank you. She only said 2 words when she felt something wrong. She immediately opened the jade box in her hand and exclaimed, Is this a natural dragon bead? The next moment, she quickly closed the jade box and handed it back to Ning Cheng. Big Brother Ning, this thing is too precious. I can't take it. Ning Cheng laughed. Sister Shi, Even if this thing is precious, it's not necessarily more precious than the darkness origin bead, right? Sister Shirua can lend me the darkness origin bead for 2 years to help me recover my strength. But now, Sister Shirua thinks that this natural dragon bead is too precious. Aren't you looking down on me? Besides, I vaguely feel that this natural dragon bead is more useful to you than to me. Ning Qing originally intended to give this bead to Aoken. Aoken already had a natural dragon bead, and the Grand Essence Realm also had another natural dragon bead to suppress the Grand Array. Once the Grand Essence Realm was perfected, he would take this natural dragon bead away. Besides, Nong Shirua had given away the Darkness Origin bead, so what if Ning Qing gave away a natural dragon bead? If the gift was too poor, it would show that he didn't have the courage. When Nong Shirua heard Ning Qing's words, she knew that she had underestimated Ning Qing. Ning Qing was obviously different from ordinary cultivators. He was a man with a majestic aura. He wouldn't hesitate to give away something just because it was good. Then I'll have to thank Big Brother Ning. Nong Shirua didn't refuse anymore. If she did, it would mean that she didn't treat Ning Qing as a friend. Big Brother Ning, you wanted to keep Zhou Xing, was it because Zhou Xing wasn't from this universe? Nong Shirua took the initiative to ask after putting away the natural dragon bead. Ning Qing smiled. It looks like you know that I'm not from Bright Heaven or Dark Heaven. Zhou Xing and I are from another universe. Unfortunately, I can't find my way back to this universe. Chapter 1412. Nong Shirua took out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Qing. Big Brother Ning, take this jade strip. My father gave it to me. My father said that the universe we are in is called the Light and Dark Universe, and the other universe is called the Five Elements Universe. I believe that the Five Elements Universe is where you came from, right? As for the Light and Dark Universe and the Five Elements Universe, I don't know if there are other universes. Ning Qing asked in surprise. Shirua, is this jade strip the location of the Light and Dark Universe's positional plane? Nong Shifan nodded. Yes, my father's strength may not be the strongest in this world, but there are very few people who can surpass him in terms of experience and cultivation. However, my father has been unable to break through the shackles and has been lingering at the Unity Realm. After that, my father searched everywhere for a way to leave this universe, and he found the Sacred River. The Sacred River is the surface of the universe here? Ning Qing looked at Nong Shirua in surprise, but I heard that to cross the Sacred Domain River, one must take the Radiant Treasure Carriage. Moreover, no one has ever come out of the Sacred Domain River. Nong Shirua was also a little confused as she said, I'm not too sure about this. My father didn't go down to investigate either. I was just about to tell Big Brother Ning that even if the Sacred Domain River is the boundary of our universe, we still have to treat it with caution. Unfortunately, I killed Zhou Xing, otherwise, I can ask Zhou Xing how he came here. Ning Qing wanted to ask Nong Shirua why the Sacred Domain River roared when he was about to take away the water from the Sacred Domain River. After hearing Nong Shirua's words, he didn't ask any further. Nong Shirua clearly did not know about this. Big Brother Ning, I have to go. Maybe after many years, we will meet again, or maybe we will never meet again. Take care. With that, Nong Shirua bowed to Ning Qing. Ning Qing then took out a communications pearl and handed it to Nong Shirua. Shirua, this is my communications pearl. If we were still in the same universe, I would be able to vaguely sense you crushing this communications pearl. Take care of yourself. The path of cultivation is long, and we don't know what will happen in the future. We can only wish each other the best. Nong Shirua put away the communication pearl and bowed once more. Then she turned and walked out of the cave, her figure flickering as she disappeared. Ning Qing stood at the entrance of the immortal cave, and when he could not sense Nong Shirua's presence, he gave out a sigh and put away the array flags that he had used to arrange the immortal cave. Although Nong Shirua was a woman, she was a straightforward and generous person. Although the 9 Reliance Rest Inn was in the Sacred Lord region, it was located in a remote city. There weren't any high-class merchant buildings or experts here, so it wasn't eye-catching. It was reasonable to say that such an inconspicuous little inn in a small market square that wasn't considered very prosperous shouldn't have offended any powerful people. In reality, the 9 Reliance Rest Inn had already been burned to ashes by someone. They didn't even dare to rebuild it. Ning Cheng stood at the entrance of the 9 Reliance Rest Stop. Although he looked calm on the outside, his heart was burning with anger. Chasing Bull had always been in the 9 Reliance resting pen. Now that the 9 Reliance resting pen had burned down, it would be strange if anything good happened to Chasing Bull. No matter what, Chasing Bull was still his companion beast. "Friend, may I ask what's going on with the 9 Reliance Rest Inn? I remember when I came here many years ago, the rest stop was still here. How did it get destroyed now? With such a good piece of land, why didn't anyone rebuild a rest stop?" Ning Cheng grabbed a cultivator passing by and asked. The man glanced at Ning Cheng and spoke up in a hurry, I don't know. With that, the man quickly broke free from Ning Cheng's hand and hurriedly walked into the crowd. It would be strange if he didn't know about it. This person clearly didn't dare to say it. Ning Cheng didn't continue to ask the passers-by. He put on his mask and found the Market Square's Quest Guild. Half an hour later, the Market Square's Quest Guild posted a quest. Although the quest looked simple, the reward was amazing. The quest only asked who destroyed the 9 Reliance Rest Stop in the Market Square and why it was destroyed. The reward was a high-grade spirit artifact, plus a top-grade primordial healing Dao pill. The time limit was an hour. Within these 2 hours, whoever gave the most perfect answer would obtain the item. It was just a question about a piece of information that most people already knew about, yet the reward was so high. From this, one could imagine how rich the person who posted the news was. Or rather, how eager the person who posted the news was to find out about this matter. Not to mention a high-grade spirit artifact, even a low-grade spirit artifact was a treasure that countless people would fight over in bright radiance. What's more, in addition to a high-grade spirit artifact, there was also a top-grade primordial healing Dao pill. When this quest came out, not to mention an hour, it only took half an incense stick worth of time for the entire market square to know about it. In just an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng, who posted the quest, got an accurate and complete answer. Half a year ago, Yu Duodai passed through the 9 Reliance Rest Stop. At that time, Yu Duodai was cultivating the spiritual consciousness restriction-breaking spirit technique. As such, her spiritual consciousness broke through the many room restrictions of the 9 Reliance Rest Stop without any scruples. However, when she tried to break through one of the room's restrictions, it blocked her. This surprised Yu Duodai. She deliberately entered the rest stop and used her spiritual consciousness to attack the room's restrictions. However, she still couldn't break through the room's restrictions. This made Yu Duodai feel very dissatisfied. She had a strong spiritual consciousness cultivation method, so how could she not break through a room's restrictions in a small rest stop? She immediately brought out a weapon to attack the room's restrictions. Letting Yu Duodai come into the rest stop to test her spiritual consciousness restriction-breaking technique was already too much. But now that Yu Duodai wanted to use a weapon to attack the restrictions, the 9 Reliance Rest Stop steward immediately stopped Yu Duodai. Because of this, the 9 Reliance Rest Stop's fate was sealed. Yu Duodai directly killed everyone in the rest stop, including the steward and the guests. After killing everyone, Yu Duodai burned down the 9 Reliance Rest Stop. She also said that whoever dared to rebuild the 9 Reliance Rest Stop would be the next person to be killed. No one dared to ignore Yu Duodai's words. Perhaps Yu Duodai was not a surprise, as she was only at the Dao transformation realm. However, Yu Duodai's Dao companion, Ting Laifu, was a famous expert in the Radiance Sacred Region. Although Tseng Laifu was not among the Radiance Sacred Region's 10 major Dao lords, Tseng Laifu's strength was not weaker than any of the 10 major Dao lords. He was a peerless genius and was recognized by the Radiance Sacred Region as the successor to Nong Shimu. In the Radiance Sacred Region, when the 10 major Dao lords were mentioned, one would naturally think of the Sacred Lord Protectorate's Leaf Dao School. The master of Leaf Dao School was Tseng Laifu. In addition, Yu Duodai's grandfather, Yu Shi, was one of the 10 major Dao lords of the Radiance Sacred Region. With such a powerful backer, Even the Radiant's sacred region's sacred Lord Jujin would have to show some respect, let alone a small rest stop. Therefore, when you Duodai killed everyone in the 9 Reliance rest stop and destroyed the 9 Reliance rest stop because of a trivial matter, no one dared to talk about it. No one talked about it anymore. Ningqing had used a high-grade divine artifact and a top-notch primordial chaos healing Dao pill to attract many people. In a luxurious inner hall of the Leaf Dao School, a beautiful woman looked at the information in her hand and immediately slammed the tea table in front of her, shattering it into pieces. Who is it? Find out who dares to use a high-grade divine artifact to investigate me, you Duodai? After I catch him, immediately extract his soul. No, immediately send him here. The woman was beautiful, but her words were filled with extreme hostility. It seemed as if issuing such a mission was equivalent to offending her dignity, which was unforgivable. Lady, I heard that it was a person wearing a mask. A female servant said carefully. Go and call the person in charge of that guild. Who gave him the courage to issue such a mission? The beautiful woman's tone turned even angrier. Yes, Nyang Nyang. The servant girl quickly bowed and slowly retreated. After the servant left, another servant walked in with a bowl of steaming soup. Lady, today is the middle of the month. The wind-seeking unicorn soup is ready. When the beautiful woman heard this, the anger on her face dissipated, and she nodded, then bring it up. This ox is not bad. I'm afraid that I will advance in a year. You won't be able to advance for the rest of your life. A cold voice rang out. Who is it? The beautiful woman suddenly stood up. How could she not know that someone had entered the Leaf Dao School? Boom. The cave residence's restriction in front of her entrance violently blasted open, and a young man in linen robes stood at the entrance of her cave residence. Chapter 1413. Who are you? How dare you come to my Leifu Dao gate? Yu Duodai snapped. Her voice was too sharp, revealing some of the fear deep in her heart. Her beautiful face became a little twisted because of this fear. Ningqing stepped forward and raised his hand to grab at the void. Yu Duodai felt like a chicken caught by Ningqing's void handprint without any ability to resist. Before Ningqing could do anything, Yu Duodai screamed, Don't you dare touch me. My grandfather Yu Shi is one of the 10 Dao Lords of the Radiant Sacred Domain. My husband Sing Leifu is a Convergence Realm powerhouse. If you touch me... Slap. Ningqing slapped Yu Duodai's face from the void, and 5 bloody marks immediately covered half of her face. Do you know what soup you just drank? Ningqing's tone was cold and filled with strong killing intent. It's a spirit beast I obtained by chance, the wind-seeking heavenly bull. There's still half of the wind-seeking heavenly bull left. If you want it, I can give it to you. Please don't do it. Seeing that Ningqing really wanted to make a move, Yu Duodai panicked and started begging for mercy. Other people's lives were not even worth an ant's life in her eyes, but her own life was very important. Not to mention her life, even a strand of her hair was very precious to her. But now, Ningqing's slap left 5 bloody marks on her face. From this, it showed that this person in front of her didn't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. Ningqing laughed, but there was no smile on his face. That wind-seeking heavenly bull is my companion beast. It's just in seclusion in the 9 Reliance rest stop. It didn't provoke you, yet you actually made soup out of it. Not only did you make soup out of it, but you also cut off a piece of its flesh every day and didn't allow it to heal. I didn't expect that there would be such a vicious woman like you in this world. A woman like you living is a stain to this space. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness had already swept past Chasing Bull. Chasing Bull was locked in a cave behind it with restrictions. Its body was cut to pieces and covered in bloody holes. In many places, even its bones could be seen. Blood kept flowing, and it didn't allow it to heal. Ningqing also understood why Yu Duodai did this. Once Chasing Bull healed and regrown, the effect of the soup would be much worse. At the same time, the fresher the wind-seeking heavenly bull's flesh, the better. Because of this, Chasing Bull could still breathe even after suffering all kinds of torture. However, every few days, a few pieces of meat would be cut off from its body and used to make soup. This kind of life was also suffering. After this incident, Ning Cheng believed that chasing bull would no longer be lazy. Feeling Ning Cheng's incomparably sharp killing intent, Yu Duodai truly felt terrified. Her man had yet to return. What should she do? By the time her grandfather arrived, she would have already been killed. Don't touch me. I'm willing to be your woman. I know many ways to please you. Yu Duodai was still screaming for a way out when Ning Cheng raised his hand and threw her out. At the same time, he shot out hundreds of sharp soul thorns. Even if the 10 great Tao lords of the radiant sacred region are your gigolo, I will still nail you to death today, you vicious bitch. Ning Cheng said sarcastically. A series of screams erupted as Ning Cheng nailed Yu Duodai to the void. 107 soul spikes pierced into her body, causing her screams to become weaker and weaker. In just a few minutes, her soul was completely destroyed, and she didn't even have a chance to reincarnate. Ning Cheng had never killed a person in such a cruel manner. Even if it was an enemy, he would usually kill them directly. But this woman was too vicious. Although chasing bull was a bull, it had spiritual wisdom, which was equivalent to a human. Even if Ning Cheng often scolded chasing bull, he had never treated chasing bull as a real beast. It would have been fine if Yu Duodai had killed chasing bull. But this woman, in order to drink the best wind-seeking heavenly unicorn soup, had even cut off her flesh to satisfy her desires. It would have been strange if Ning Cheng had treated such a woman politely. Chasing bull's body ended up with 107 bloody holes, and Ning Cheng had nailed 107 soul thorns into Yu Duodai's body. After nailing Yu Duodai, Ning Cheng raised his foot and kicked the void. Ning Cheng then stomped on Yu Duodai's beautiful palace, turning it into ruins. As Yu Duodai's immortal's cave was trampled, the surrounding immortal's cave collapsed with a crash. Chasing bull, imprisoned in the spiritual kitchen, looked at the collapsing surroundings in horror. It raised its blood-red eyes and finally saw Ning Cheng coming over. It immediately screamed, "Master, please save your most loyal pet, Chasing Bull." Ning Cheng took a step forward and landed beside Chasing Bull. He then raised his hand and slapped away the restrictions on Chasing Bull's body. At the same time, he threw several medicinal pills into Chasing Bull's mouth. Although Chasing Bull suffered a lot of torture, its Tao charm remained intact. After Ning Cheng abolished Chasing Bull's shackles and gave it several healing pills, Chasing Bull recovered to its original state in just a short time. But because of the severe damage to its vitality, it would take a long time for its cultivation to recover. Seeing Ning Cheng's unhappy expression, Chasing Bull spoke up with some shame, "Master, I've lost face for you." Ning Cheng scolded, "You also know how to lose face. A little Tao transformation woman can take you away." So many cultivation resources ended up in a dog's hands. I'm clearly a bull. Besides, it wasn't that woman who did it, but someone stronger than that woman. These were Chasing Bull's heartfelt words, but it didn't dare to say them out loud. "Master, I will definitely go back and cultivate hard. I will never be as useless as I am now." After suffering all the torture and suffering, Chasing Bull finally realized that it was too weak. "You go in first, I'm going to start killing." Ning Cheng raised his hand and put Chasing Bull into the mysterious yellow bead. At this time, dozens of Tao Essence powerhouses had already surrounded them, including several world creation realm powerhouses. Since Ning Cheng came to kick Leaf Tao Gate, he wouldn't show any mercy. For a ridiculous reason, these people had helped Yu Duodai slaughter the 9 Reliance Rest Stop. From this, one could see how many innocent people these people had killed. Ning Cheng didn't know any of the people killed in the 9 Reliance Rest Stop. He was very clear in his heart that those people were implicated and killed because of the restrictions that he had set up. Since he was the one who implicated them, he would also take this enmity. Under the breaking law, traceless spear patterns shot out. Even world creation realm powerhouses couldn't stop Ning Cheng's killing spree. In just half an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng's traceless spear patterns killed dozens of experts here. He didn't even cast a single Great Spirit technique. Some of the cultivators who hadn't joined the battlefield, after seeing Ning Cheng's power, didn't dare to step forward and continue to stop Ning Cheng. In just a short period of time, all of them had fled. Ning Cheng didn't bother to chase after them and continued to sweep out with his spear patterns. The magnificent and majestic Leaf Dao Gate had been turned into ruins by Ning Cheng. After doing all this, Ning Cheng calmly swaggered away. Who is this person? So powerful. Strength is secondary. What's more important is his courage. He dared to level Leaf Dao Gate. Now that Dao Lord Leaf is back, I'm afraid he'll turn the sky upside down. Not to mention Dao Lord Leaf, even Radiant Sacred Domain's Dao Lord, you wouldn't let this person go. Retribution. How many innocent souls did you Duodai kill over the years? Do you want to die? You Duodai was killed, and Leaf Dao Gate was destroyed. But Dao Lord Leaf is still here, and there's also Dao Lord Yu. This matter is far from over. After Ning Cheng left, many cultivators who were watching outside the ruins of Leaf Dao Gate began to talk. At this time, people from the Sacred Lord region also came to investigate the scene in order to track down the culprit. What? Leaf Dao Gate was leveled. Yu Duodai was killed? How is that possible? Yu Duodai was killed in her cave abode? Leaf Dao Gate was also destroyed? For a time, the entire Radiant Sacred Domain was shocked by this matter. If the 10 Dao Lords were enraged and severely injured Yu Duodai, it would still be possible. But now, not only was Yu Duodai killed, but even Leaf Dao Gate was destroyed. Many of the experts from the Leaf Dao school were killed. Who dares to kill people from my Yu clan? A rough voice sounded from the depths of Yu clan, followed by a figure with a powerful aura rushing towards Leaf Dao Gate. This voice broke through all kinds of soundproofing restrictions, and the violent anger could even be felt by the entire Sacred Lord region. Everyone who heard this voice knew that Dao Lord Yoshi, one of the 10 Dao Lords of the Radiant Sacred Domain, was angry. Among the 10 Dao Lords of the Radiant Sacred Domain, Dao Lord Yoshi wasn't the strongest, but he was definitely one of the Dao Lords that no one wanted to offend. This was because he was cruel and ruthless, and he would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Even if it was someone who made him unhappy, he could use the cruelest method to kill them. Once, because someone taught a junior of the Yu clan a lesson, Yoshi forcibly killed that person's entire clan. At the same time, he killed the guy who taught the Yu clan a lesson for 3,000 years before destroying his soul. Now, not only had someone offended the Yu clan, but he had also killed the pearl of the Yu clan, Yu Duodai. This almost drove Yoshi crazy. At this time, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was to capture this person and kill him for 1,000,000 years, making him suffer all the torture in the world. When Yoshi came out, the onlookers of Leaf Dao Gate dispersed. Apart from some investigators from the Sacred Lord region who were still searching the ruins, no one dared to stay here. Greetings, Dao Lord Yoshi. Seeing Yoshi come over, these cultivators who were still investigating the ruins bowed. The murderous aura on Yoshi's face could almost condense into sharp blades. He stared coldly at these investigating cultivators and asked, "Who did it?" Replying to Dao Lord Yoshi, "We haven't found out yet, but we left a few words here." After the investigating cultivator finished speaking, he pointed to the cave residence that originally belonged to Yu Duodai. Yoshi's gaze swept over, and there were a few faint words in the void. "I will kill Tsing Leaf. Yu clan, don't provoke me. Otherwise, this will be the end of the Yu clan. You're courting death." Yoshi's anger rose. He raised his hand and slapped the faintly discernible words. What Yoshi and the several investigators didn't expect was that the originally faint words became clear because of Yoshi's angry slap. Moreover, it became bigger and bigger, floating above the ruins of Leaf Dao Gate. Under these faint words, Yu Duodai, who was nailed in the void by Ning Cheng, slowly revealed herself. Chapter 14:14. Seeing Yu Duodai nailed in the void, Yoshi screamed. At this moment, everyone in the Sacred Lord region could hear Yoshi's terrifying scream. The investigators also moved to the side. No one dared to provoke Yoshi at that moment. I'm going to skin you alive. Yoshi's eyes were burning with anger, and he raised his hand to move Yu Duodai down from the void. However, before he could do anything, Yu Duodai, who had been nailed in the void, suddenly turned into a mist of blood and dissipated. Yushi was stunned on the spot. His granddaughter turned into a bloody mist in front of him, and he didn't have the ability to stop it. In the distance, the cultivators from the Sacred Lord region who were investigating looked at all of this in shock. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Everyone thought that Yugi would go crazy again. What surprised them was that Yoshi did not fly into a rage. Instead, he stood there blankly for a long time before he carefully put away the remaining items and turned to leave. Yoshi was even a little horrified. It was understandable that he didn't see clearly that Yu Duodai was nailed to the void by a concealment array formation because of his anger. After he saw Yu Duodai, he was still unable to see through the hidden killing array that tore apart Yu Duodai's body. There was only one explanation, and that was that the person who had arranged all of this was far stronger than Yushi in terms of array Dao. Yoshi had a bad temper and killed people like flies. He had no regard for human life, but he was not a fool. How many experts were there in the Holy Realm? How many experts did Radiant Heaven have? Among so many experts, Yoshi's aptitude was not the best, and his luck was not the best. The fact that he was able to stand out and become one of the 10 Dao Lords of the Sacred Realm was definitely not due to luck. Such an expert had killed Yu Duodai and threatened the Yu clan. If he was still so irritable, the Yu clan might really be destroyed. No matter how strong the other party was, it was impossible for him to stand above Yoshi. Vengeance had to be taken, and it had to be done ruthlessly. He could not be reckless. Yoshi, who originally had some resentment towards Tseng Laifu, sent a message to Tseng Laifu as soon as he left the Leaf Dao Gate. Although Tseng Laifu was very young, he wasn't the slightest bit weaker than the 10 Dao Lords. In the face of such a strong opponent, he had to take it seriously. After leaving the Sacred Lord region, Ning Qing once again returned to the Sacred Lord region. At this time, the linen clothes on his body had been replaced by a green robe, and the mask on his face was gone. He knew that as one of the 10 great Dao Lords, if Yushi really wanted to investigate, it would be very easy for him to find out that it was him. However, he didn't care about it at all. If Yushi investigated him and wanted to take action against him, he would simply take away the 5-colored star splitter bow and kill Yushi. He had battled Integration Realm experts before, and he had only been at the early stage Dao Integration Realm when he had battled Integration Realm experts. At the moment, he was infinitely close to perfected Dao integration and had mastered the law of darkness. He did not believe that he could not kill Yushi. Unless Yushi was a freak like Xingxi. Because of this, he had left a message for the Yu family not to provoke him. His message was not threatening at all. If the Yu clan provoked him, he would not hesitate to destroy the Yu clan. From Yu Duodai, he could see that the Yu clan was definitely jackals of the same tribe. He would not be lenient in destroying such a clan. Patrolling cultivators were everywhere in the Sacred Lord region. Leaf Dao sect had been raised and Yu Duodai had been nailed to death in the void. This matter was much more serious than the destruction of Nong Shilua's cave abode in the Sacred Lord region. Nong Shimu's reputation was indeed far greater than Tseng Laifu's and not something Yushi could compare to. However, Nong Shimu had already perished, and the tea would cool after he left. Nong Shilua was gone, and no one would look for the root cause of this matter with great fanfare. However, Leaf Dao sect was different. Not to mention one of the 10 great Dao Lords, even a rising star like Tseng Laifu was someone that no one in the Radiant Sacred region would dare not take seriously. As soon as Ning Qing arrived in the Sacred Lord region, he sent a message to Tang Hua. Tang Hua arrived very quickly. After Ning Qing sent the message, Tang Hua arrived in front of him in less than an incense stick worth of time. The 2 cultivators who wanted to stop Ning Qing from inspecting him consciously turned away when they saw Tang Hua. "Brother Ning, come with me quickly." When Tang Hua saw Ning Qing, she had an extremely complicated expression on her face. She simply greeted Ning Qing and left with him. After an incense stick worth of time, Ning Qing arrived at the Tang clan's territory. After entering the Tang clan's territory, Ning Qing sighed at the power of the 10 great Dao Lords. Tang Hua's grandfather, Tang Shi, was definitely not the premier Dao lord of the Radiant Sacred Region. However, the Tang clan's emperor region was much larger than his grand essence mountain. The essence qi here was rich, and the laws here were clear. It was truly a good place for secluded cultivation. The arrangement of the caves was also extremely orderly, from low to high. Ningqing didn't use his spiritual consciousness to sweep through the entire Tang clan. He knew that the deepest part of the Tang clan's territory was where Tang Shi cultivated. Although Tang Hua brought Ningqing in, no one dared to ask anything along the way. Most of them just stood to the side and saluted Tang Hua. From this, Ningqing understood that Tang Hua had a high status in the Tang clan. Tang Hua's cave should be located in the best place in the entire Tang clan, with exceptionally rich heaven and earth spirit qi. Your status in the Tang clan isn't low. After entering Tang Hua's cave, Ningqing took the initiative to speak up. Tang Hua quickly activated the restrictions and heaved a sigh of relief before pouring a cup of divine grasses for Ningqing. Brother Ning, you really have some guts? Did you destroy the Leifu Dao Gate? It wasn't surprising that Tang Hua knew about chasing bull and that he destroyed the Leifu Dao Gate. That's right, I destroyed it. Ningqing replied without any care. Tang Hua sighed and said, Brother Ning, you should leave quickly. I'll lend you the radiant treasure carriage. Why should I leave? Ningqing calmly took a sip of tea and asked, Do you know the strength behind Yu Duodai? Yu Shi is one of the top 10 Dao lords of the Radiant Sacred Region, and Zheng Laifu is no less powerful than the top 10 Dao lords. Even my grandfather would have to give in to Yu Shi and Zheng Laifu. It's not too late for you to leave now. But don't take any chances. I'm sure Yu Shi will find out that you did it sooner or later. Even if the Yu clan can't find out, that Liz will definitely tell on you. Tang Hua finished in one breath. Ningqing showed a slight smile. I didn't intend to hide it. If I can help you enter the Radiant Treasure House, it would be for the best. If I can't get in, it wouldn't be too late for me to leave. Besides, your grandfather is your grandfather, and I am me. Tang Hua looked at Ningqing in surprise. She knew that Ningqing had concealed his cultivation, but Ningqing's words showed that he didn't even fear her grandfather. Didn't this mean that Ningqing didn't fear the top 10 Dao lords with his strength? What kind of powerhouse was this? Did you do Nong Shirua's case? Tang Hua asked again. Ningqing shook his head. No, I admire Nong Shimu very much. I would never do such a thing. Tang Hua felt slightly relieved in her heart, but immediately felt tangled again. If Yu Shi investigated this matter and asked Ningqing to participate in the treasure house selection, wouldn't it cause the Tang clan to offend the Yu clan and Zheng Laifu? Ningqing saw Tang Hua's tangled thoughts and simply stood up and said, Miss Tang Hua, if you are worried, then we can cancel our previous agreement. I will leave this place immediately and not implicate you. Ningqing really wanted to go to the Radiant Treasure House, and Tang Hua was the owner who hired him. The owner was scared witless and didn't want to make such a deal. Tang Hua quickly spoke up, No, I'm just worried about you. Ningqing suddenly spoke up, I think your grandfather should be here. Saying this sentence, Ningqing's figure instantly faded and then disappeared without a trace. Just like the laws in the air, he completely integrated into space. Tang Hua looked at Ningqing's disappearing figure in shock. Whether it was her spiritual consciousness or her sixth sense, she couldn't detect Ningqing's position. What kind of method was this? Fortunately, she quickly remembered Ningqing's words and raised her hand to put away Ningqing's teacup. At this time, the restrictions outside the immortal cave activated. Tang Hua opened the restrictions of the immortal cave and saw her grandfather, Tang Shi, standing outside the immortal cave. Grandpa, why are you here? Tang Hua felt secretly surprised. Ningqing knew that her grandfather had come, but her grandfather didn't even notice Ningqing. Even if it was just that, her grandfather came to her room and didn't notice Ningqing. Could it be that Ningqing was even stronger than her grandfather? Tang Shi nodded and walked into Tang Hua's immortal cave and sat down. Tang Hua quickly poured a cup of divine spirit tea for her grandfather, feeling a little nervous in her heart. Although her grandfather loved her dearly, he rarely came to the immortal cave where she cultivated. This time, her grandfather came here for something. After Tang Shi motioned for Tang Hua to sit down, he asked, Do you know about the matter with the Leaf Dao Gate? Or knows? Tang Hua quickly replied, I heard that the artifact crafting master you found had a wind-seeking heavenly bull as a companion beast. Yu Duodai was killed because of a wind-seeking heavenly bull, and that person even destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate. Tang Shi finished his sentence and stared at Tang Hua. Tang Hua didn't dare to hide it. She knew that it must have been Liz who said it. Otherwise, even her grandfather wouldn't know about it so quickly. Grandpa, that Ning Qing does indeed have a wind-seeking heavenly bull as a companion beast. As for whether or not he destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate, I don't know. If it is, I won't let him help me participate in the Radiance Treasury selection. Grandpa, please rest assured. Oh, why is that? Tang Shi looked at Tang Hua and asked. Tang Hua spoke up carefully, I'm afraid that what he does will have an impact on my Tang family. After all, it's related to one of the top 10 Dao monarchs, Yu Shi, and that Tsing Laifu. Tang Shi suddenly laughed. If that person really has the ability, then what's the harm in using his help? Our Tang family only asked him to participate in the qualification assessment to enter the Radiance Treasury. The destruction of the Leaf Dao Gate was not the work of our Tang family. If Yu Shi wants to vent his anger on us, then my Tang family is not a piece of paper. Yes, Grandpa, I understand. Tang Hua quickly spoke up with a respectful tone. She thought that her grandfather had come to warn her not to let Ning Qing take action. She didn't expect her grandfather to tell her that it would be fine to let Ning Qing take action. Tang Shi seemed to have come here specifically to say this. After saying that, he immediately got up and left. After Tang Shi left, Ning Qing's figure appeared. He had been listening to Tang Shi's words, and he completely understood what Tang Shi meant. If the Tang family knew that Ning Qing was the one who destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate, then they would immediately not dare to ask Ning Qing to help them participate in the assessment. It showed that the Tang family was afraid of the Yu family and Tsing Laifu. Of course, it was also possible that the Tang family wanted to win him over. Brother Ning, how did you do it? Why didn't my grandfather notice you? Tang Hua looked at Ning Qing and asked in surprise. Chapter 14-15. Ning Qing hesitated for a moment before speaking. I guess that your grandfather has already noticed that something is wrong, but he should not care about it. Ning Qing vaguely felt that Tang Shi seemed to be aware of it. However, he did not care about it. After all, it was normal for the laws of heaven and earth to fluctuate a little. This meant that his comprehension of the law of darkness was still lacking. Once he completely merged with the laws of heaven and earth in this space and transformed into the laws of darkness, Tang Shi would definitely be fine. Are you still willing to continue working with me? Ning Qing didn't want to waste time with Tang Hua. If Tang Hua didn't want to, he planned to leave the Sacred Master region with the 5-colored star splitter bow. He had a lot of things to do, and it was impossible for him to waste his time here. Tang Hua spoke with affirmation. Since my grandfather said so, then I am naturally willing to ask for your help. Are you going to stay with me or at the inn? How long is it until the Radiant Treasury's qualification round? Ning Qing did not answer directly, but asked a question. There's still half a year. Tang Hua replied. Good, then I will come back in half a year. Ning Qing replied he knew that staying in Tang Hua's place was a complete waste of time. If he hid here and did nothing, Tang Shi would definitely not know that he was here. Once he comprehended a Dao art here, then Tang Shi would definitely know. To him, it was simply unrealistic to do nothing for half a year. Ning Qing did not want to complicate matters. He had already offended 2 peak-level powerhouses. If he added on his hidden opponent, Zhu Jin, then it would not be a good thing for him to expose himself. Once he was surrounded by Yu Shi and Tsing Laifu, Zhu Jin would definitely deal with him. If Zhu Jin made a move, Tang Shi would probably make a move in order to remove the Tang family from the picture. Even if Tang Shi didn't intervene, other Dao Lords might intervene. He was only one person and could not deal with so many people. Then we'll meet again in half a year. If you need my help, you can send me a message anytime. Tang Hua also understood Ning Cheng's intentions. With Yu Shi's ability, he would be able to find out Ning Cheng's vague origins in half a year. The Tang family wasn't afraid of the Yu family, and they didn't want to become enemies with the Yu family over this matter. Inviting Ning Cheng to participate in the selection to enter the treasure house was one thing, but letting Ning Cheng stay in the Tang clan to cultivate was another matter altogether. Ning Cheng did not intend to ask Tang Hua for help, but after listening to Tang Hua's words, he hesitated and suddenly spoke. "Miss Tang Hua, can you lend me your radiant treasure carriage?" Tang Hua was only slightly surprised for a moment, before she took out her radiant treasure carriage without hesitation and handed it to Ning Cheng. "Just refine it yourself a little, and you will be able to control it." She had some understanding of Ning Cheng's character and believed that Ning Cheng didn't borrow her treasure carriage to escape. If it was to escape, then Ning Cheng could have just said it directly. Because if she had said it directly, she would have lent it to Ning Cheng. "Many thanks, I'll be taking my leave now. I'll see you again in half a year." Ning Cheng put away the radiant treasure carriage, before cupping his fists towards Tang Hua and saying a few words of thanks. His figure flashed as he instantly escaped. "Wait, I'll take you out." Tang Hua immediately thought of the Tang clan's strict restrictions. If she did not take Ning Cheng out, then perhaps it would be very difficult for Ning Cheng to leave. But just as she finished this sentence, Ning Cheng had already disappeared. Tang Hua was secretly shocked. No wonder it was rumored that the powerhouse who killed Yu Duodai had set up a concealment array that even Yu Shi didn't notice. This brother Ning's attainments in the Tao of array formations had reached the pinnacle. At least within the radiant sacred domain, no one could surpass him. As for the strength of the Tang clan's grand defensive array, Tang Hua was well aware of it. But even with such a grand defensive array, the Tang clan's guards could not even detect it after the other party left. It was a testament to their ability. Tang Hua didn't care about Ning Cheng passing through the defensive array and leaving, as it was a bit rude to her Tang clan. She also vaguely guessed some of Ning Cheng's thoughts. Ning Cheng was telling her that if a fight broke out in the future, her Tang clan should not intervene. Because if she angered him, then Tang Hua's defensive array would turn into a decoration. Tang Hua did not intend to tell her grandfather, Tang Shi, about this. In any case, she would not let the Tang clan intervene in the battle between Ning Cheng and Yu clan and Tseng Laifu. She also believed that her grandfather would not participate in it. Ning Cheng indeed had the intention of telling the Tang clan not to intervene in his affairs, but Tang Hua did not completely guess it. Ning Cheng did not think that the Tang clan would help the Yu clan and Tseng Laifu, but he was worried that the Tang clan would help Zhu Jin. He and Tang Hua had a pleasant cooperation. If the Tang clan wanted to deal with him, he would not show any mercy. In this place, showing mercy was tantamount to courting death. Sacred River. Not only was it the most mysterious place in bright light heaven, but it was also the most mysterious place in dark heaven. The bright heaven and dark heaven of the light and dark heaven were incompatible like fire and water, and a great war would break out every few tens of thousands of years. If not for the sacred river, then bright light heaven and dark heaven would have fought each other almost every day. The sacred river stretched through the light and dark universe, and no one knew its source, nor its end. They only knew that the sacred river not only divided the bright holy domain, but also the dark holy domain of dark heaven. The main stem of the sacred river was the bright light heaven and dark heaven. Ning Cheng stood on the edge of the main stem of the sacred river, which was the location Nong Shirua had pointed out to him in the jade strip. This jade strip did not belong to Nong Shirua, but something left to her by Nong Shirua's father. The sacred river was most likely the boundary of the light and dark universe, which was also the conclusion Nong Shimu had reached. It was just that Nong Shimu's cultivation was not high enough to enter the sacred river to investigate. The sacred river was still as calm as a mirror, without any ripples. Ning Cheng knew that he was standing on the opposite side of the dark heaven. Whether it was his eyes or his spiritual consciousness, he could not penetrate any further. Ning Cheng did not directly bring out the radiant treasure chariot. Instead, he stood on the edge of the sacred river and used his spiritual consciousness to carefully absorb the sacred river's water. Then, at an extremely fast speed, he pulled out the water from the sacred river. When he and Tang Hua crossed the sacred river's branch, the sacred river roared because he had absorbed a portion of the sacred river's water. The violent waves almost swept up Tang Hua's radiant treasure chariot. Boom! Ning Qing had just absorbed a portion of the sacred river's water when the previously calm sacred river suddenly started to churn. Terrifying waves swept out from the center of the river. Ning Qing even suspected that he was not standing on the shore, but inside the radiant treasure chariot in the center of the river. When the huge waves first appeared in front of Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness, they were only a few dozen feet wide. But a moment later, they grew to hundreds of feet wide. After that, the 1,000-foot wave came crashing down, directly submerging the sacred river's shore. But after this 1,000-foot wave, another 10,000-foot wave also rolled up. A terrifying aura of heaven and earth laws swept through the space around Ning Cheng, making it difficult for Ning Cheng to move. Ning Cheng's expression changed drastically. After casting a law-breaking spirit technique, he blasted out the Creation Divine Spear without hesitation. Crack! The Creation Divine Spear slammed into the endless violent waves, but it felt as if it had hit a solid iron shield, making a metallic clanging sound. Ning Cheng's Creation Divine Spear broke open a small gap, and Ning Cheng's figure turned into a dark law as he escaped through the gap and disappeared. Hundreds of miles away, Ning Cheng stopped and watched in shock as the violent waves of the sacred river receded. He still felt some fear in his heart. This sacred river was too terrifying. Even with his nearly full-circle Tao integration strength, he couldn't even absorb a portion of the water. Not only had the sacred river swept away the water he had absorbed just now, but he had also almost been swept away by the sacred river. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and landed on the ground. If it were an ordinary person, they would never have been able to escape the terrifying waves of the sacred river. The waves of the sacred domain river came and went quickly. After the water Ning Cheng had absorbed was swept away, the waves slowly receded, and the shore gradually regained its tranquility. After an incense stick worth of time, the sacred river once again looked like a mirror, as if everything that had just happened was fake. When Ning Cheng returned to the edge of the sacred river, he finally understood why an expert like Nong Shimu couldn't enter the sacred river to explore. He also couldn't explore the power of the sacred river. In the final analysis, his strength was too low. Ning Cheng dispelled the idea of using the radiant treasure chariot to wander around the sacred river. With his current strength, it would be akin to courting death. Fortunately, he had acted on the shore. If he had acted on the radiant treasure chariot, the waves of the sacred river would have swept him into the bottom of the river along with the chariot. Ning Cheng felt helpless. If it was as Nong Shimu had speculated, the sacred river was the boundary of the light and dark universe. If he couldn't even get into the river, how could he find the positional plane? If he couldn't find the positional plane, how could he leave the sacred river? Did he really have to reach the third step here before he could leave? How could stepping into the third step be easy? If he were in the Chaos Realm, he would have the Chaos Jade Talisman to enter the strongest third step of Tao confirming. But how could he go to the Chaos Realm now? Moreover, according to Nong Shimu, even if he went to the Chaos Realm, he wouldn't be able to reach the strongest third step. The strongest third step was to condense one's own attribute laws and create a world. How could it be easy? Ning Cheng sighed. He knew that it would be too difficult for him to reach this step. It was mainly because his cultivation method and law-based spirit techniques all came from the origin attribute born from the primal chaos. He already had the primal chaos origin attribute brand on him. Even if he reincarnated, it would be difficult to remove this brand. He should leave first. Maybe there was something he needed in the Radiant Treasure House. Ning Cheng had just thought of this when he heard a slightly shrill voice. Did you destroy Leaf Dao Gate? Did you kill Yu Duodai? Ning Cheng looked up in surprise. He had been thinking about reaching the third step of Tao confirming and hadn't noticed that someone had come near him. A few dozen feet away from him, a man in brocade robes stood. This man in brocade robes had almost no eyebrows, and his eyes were extremely bright. Tao charm flowed around him, and a powerful oppressive aura washed over him. At this time, he had already arrived a few feet away from Ning Cheng and stared at Ning Cheng coldly. Tseng Leaf. Ning Cheng immediately knew who this person was. He had heard that Tseng Leaf, who he had destroyed, was a realm-merging expert, and this man in brocade robes had a realm-merging cultivation. Chapter 1416. That's right, this monarch is Zheng Leifu. You're just a mere Dao integration stage holy emperor, yet you dare to destroy my cave abode? Yoshi is so old that he's so timid even when facing a little thing like you. The brocade-robed man's lips curled into a mocking smile. Ning Cheng raised his hand, and the good fortune spirit spear appeared in it. He could vaguely sense that this Zheng Leifu was a formidable opponent. However, he wasn't afraid at all. It wasn't as if he hadn't killed fusing realm experts before. You have some guts, daring to use a weapon in front of this lord. Zheng Leifu, on seeing Ning Cheng bring out the good fortune spirit spear, spoke up with even more disdain. It's just that he didn't finish his sentence. Instead, he stared at Ning Cheng's good fortune spirit spear. He had an intuition that Ning Cheng's spirit spear was something extraordinary. This was definitely not an ordinary high-grade god artifact. Ning Cheng was speechless as he spoke. Do you want to die? I wonder, you're such a bird. Why didn't you see your shadow when your grandfather destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate? Zheng Leifu said calmly, for the sake of your spear, I will let you be a ghost with an understanding. Because I went to look for Nong Shirua, the darkness origin orb is with her. You went after Nong Shirua? Ning Cheng's killing intent surged. Nong Shirua was his benefactor. If this bastard killed her, then even if he killed this fellow, he wouldn't be able to save Nong Shirua. Zheng Leifu apparently felt Ning Cheng's anger and asked in doubt, I didn't expect you to know Nong Shirua. Unfortunately, that old fart Nong Shimu actually looks down on me. Otherwise, Nong Shirua wouldn't be the one living in my Reifu Dao Gate. That woman is indeed very smart, so smart that even I was fooled by her. When he spat out the last word, Zheng Leifu's figure had already weakened. At the same time, an axe shadow tore through the void and enveloped all the space. The deathly axe intent squeezed out all the laws of the heaven and earth, leaving behind only the space of the axe. It was actually an axe wielder? The most powerful axe intent that Ning Cheng had ever seen was left behind by the good fortune indestructible axe. Initially in the Jialiang Sea, the remnant axe line killing intent from the good fortune indestructible axe had almost killed him. That remnant axe line killing intent, he estimated that it was not even a billionth of the strongest of the good fortune indestructible axe. If Ning Cheng had not seen the axe intent of the indestructible axe, then in the face of such a terrifying killing force from Zheng Leifu's axe intent, other than avoiding it, he really would not dare to face it head-on. At this time, Ning Cheng did not have the slightest intention to retreat. Not only did he not have any intention of retreating, but his whole person took a step forward in the midst of the berserk axe intent. The berserk axe intent that filled up the entire space around Ning Cheng's body was unable to tear apart Ning Cheng's defensive domain. In terms of power, Zheng Leifu's axe intent was many times more powerful than Jiao Lianghai's axe line. But when it came to axe intent, Zheng Leifu's axe intent was much worse than that axe intent. Ning Cheng was now at the peak of Dao integration. If he had to face the killing intent of other Dharma treasures, he might have avoided it. Towards the axe intent, he really did not fear it. If not for the divine spear of creation, his Dharma treasure might also be an axe. Zheng Leifu's axe intent crushing spiritual technique was only able to display half of it before it came to a stop in horror. Since his debut, no one had been able to cross the space filled with his axe intent so easily. But today, Ning Cheng not only managed to do it, but he also did it without leaving a single trace. His axe intent crushing spiritual technique had only stretched out the axe intent. The crushing force had not yet formed when Ning Cheng's divine spear of creation had already pierced through space. The surrounding space fractured layer by layer, and spatial dislocations began to form. Zheng Leifu's pupils shrank sharply. Was this the spatial dislocation spiritual technique? A Dao integration Holy Emperor could actually use the spatial dislocation spiritual technique in such a stable space. Moreover, it was layer upon layer of dislocations. Just how terrifying was this? Xing Laifu was also a recognized genius of the Holy Realm, but even now, he could not do this. The void staggered apart, and the aura of the void merged with Ning Cheng's spear intent, which he could not grasp at all. Encountering this kind of spatial dislocation and collapse, anything would turn into powder. Xing Laifu no longer dared to treat Ning Cheng as a Dao integration Holy Emperor. 7 sword tokens appeared out of thin air. The 7 sword tokens tore a gap under Ning Cheng's layers of fractured spatial dislocations in accordance with the Big Dipper position. Xing Laifu, like a sword shadow, broke out of this gap. A faint bloodstain was left on his back. His speed was not slow. Almost at the same time that his axe intent crushing spiritual technique failed, he brought out the 7 sword tokens. Even so, his 2 calves were still swept away by the layers of void dislocations. Apart from a few wisps of blood mist, there was no other trace of him. Ning Cheng did not continue to attack. Just now, under Xing Laifu's axe intent spiritual technique, he suddenly brought out the traceless spatial collapse. Although he had not integrated the law of darkness, Ning Cheng thought that even if Xing Laifu could escape, his body would shatter. He did not expect Xing Laifu to only lose 2 calves and escape. Ning Cheng did not know what kind of treasure Xing Laifu's 7 sword tokens were, but they were so powerful. After he brought out the traceless void step, he tore open a path for survival. Xing Laifu did not escape, nor did he continue to attack. A huge axe-shaped magic weapon as thin as a cicada's wing circled around him. In front of the axe-shaped magic weapon were 7 sword tokens. This time, Ning Cheng saw it very clearly. These 7 sword tokens were surrounded by a mysterious Dao charm, which made people unable to see what they were made of. The 2 calves that were swept away by the traceless spatial collapse also grew back. At this moment, Xing Laifu could not see any other injuries except for his slightly pale face. "You're strong, so strong that I can't believe it. Are you really a Dao perfection Holy Emperor? And you seem to be very familiar with my axe intent space?" Xing Laifu's slightly shrill voice sounded even sharper at this time. Ning Cheng stepped forward in the void, and the good fortune divine spear once again rolled up layers of spear traces. Xing Laifu's strength was very strong. As long as this fellow did not leave, Ning Cheng still had the confidence to kill this fellow. "Wait." Xing Laifu stopped Ning Cheng. "You can't kill me. I'm not your opponent right now. Even if you want to kill me, it won't be that easy." Ning Cheng sneered, "Whether I can kill you or not, I'll have to fight to know. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Take this father's spear." While Ning Cheng spoke, his hands didn't stop moving at all. "If you say wait, then wait. Who do you think you are, Xing Laifu?" After knowing Ning Cheng's strength, Xing Laifu kept his guard up against Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's spear traces swung out and instantly collided with Xing Laifu's protective Dao charm. Violent Dao auras exploded outwards. Even the calm sacred river started to ripple under the influence of this Dao aura. Xing Laifu was both shocked and angry. He never thought that someone would treat his words as farts. He originally wanted to escape, but instead he threw out 7 sword tokens. The 7 sword intents were like 7 void grand Dao, trapping Ning Cheng within it. The pressure of the space constraint kept rolling in. Seeing the brilliance of the 7 sword tokens about to close, Ning Cheng acted as if he didn't see it. Xing Laifu was overjoyed. As long as his 7 sword tokens closed, Ning Cheng would fall no matter how strong he was. But he couldn't believe it. If Ning Cheng was so simple, then he wouldn't have broken his calf before. Even now, he still had lingering fears about the power of the traceless collapse. At this time, if he wanted to leave, he believed that he could still escape. But he really didn't want to let go of such a good opportunity. Just when the 7 sword tokens' brilliance was about to close, Ning Cheng suddenly took a step into the void and raised his hand. None to depend on spirit technique. None to depend on, yellow sand rises. Thin horse on the west wind ancient road, long dependence, tears-stained clothes, An inexplicable concept of sorrow rolled up out of thin air, and Tseng Laifu suddenly fell into this concept. But in less than a breath, Tseng Laifu sobered up from this concept. Tseng Laifu, who was ready to escape at any time, suddenly felt excited. He finally understood Ning Cheng's intentions. Ning Cheng wanted to use this concept spirit technique to bind him for a short time, and then use the void collapse spirit technique to kill him. The other party must have thought that he missed Yu Duodai very much, which was why he used this concept spirit technique. The other party didn't know that he didn't miss Yu Duodai at all. In his Tao, there was only himself, and everything else was illusory. Maybe if this concept spirit technique went up by 2 levels, it could affect him. But for now, it was still a long way off. Tseng Laifu gave a long roar, and the giant axe as thin as a cicada's wings suddenly disappeared. Then, a slaughtering axe intent shot out from the 9 netherworlds. This slaughtering axe intent didn't bind space. Instead, it bound everything in front of the axe intent. This was his axe intent spirit technique, waist chop. There was only one purpose for this divine ability, and that was to cut them in half. The axe's edge moved in the direction of waist chop. In the face of waist chop, the opponent would only end up in one place. With the 7 kill sword tokens closed and the waist chop activated, he didn't believe that Ning Cheng had 3 heads and 6 arms. Ning Cheng had never pinned his hopes on the none to depend on spirit technique to bind Tseng Laifu. He knew that Tseng Laifu's 7 sword tokens were meant to guard against his traceless collapse. Therefore, he didn't plan to continue using traceless collapse. At the same time as he brought out the none to depend on spirit technique, Ning Cheng raised his hand and pointed out a finger. Law-breaking finger. The law-breaking finger could destroy everything, not to mention the law-breaking finger fused with the laws of darkness. This was Ning Cheng's real killing move. After using the law-breaking finger, the laws of heaven and earth in the surrounding space began to shatter. Between these shattered laws of heaven and earth, a darkness that could devour everything swept out. No, this was the strongest darkness law spirit technique. After Tseng Laifu brought out the waist chop, he felt the all-devouring dark aura. Tseng Laifu felt horrified. He could indeed cut Ning Cheng at the waist. But similarly, Ning Cheng's darkness law spirit technique could also sweep away his corporeal body and spiritual soul. Catcha! The 7 kill sword tokens slaughter aura weakened, and the laws shattered. Even his cicada's wing-thin giant axe slowed down. Tseng Laifu no longer wanted to cut Ning Cheng at the waist. The 7 sword tokens rolled up a void passage. As soon as the void passage appeared, he stepped into it. Just like his killing move wasn't the 7 sword tokens, but the waist chop. Ning Cheng's killing move wasn't the concept spirit technique, nor was it the darkness law spirit technique. Instead, it was the finger that could shatter the laws of heaven and earth. This person was not only insidious but also ruthless. Whether it was towards his enemies or himself, he was ruthless. Chapter 1417. Tseng Laifu was already fast enough. Even so, the law-breaking finger still blasted away half of his body as he left the 7 kill sword tokens passageway. The blood mist and the passage opened by the 7 kill sword order disappeared at the same time, along with Tseng Laifu and his thin giant axe. Almost at the same time as Tseng Laifu left, a bloody mist splashed out from Ning Cheng's waist. Ning Cheng blasted away half of Tseng Laifu's body, severely injuring Tseng Laifu. However, Tseng Laifu's waist-cleaving spirit technique also left a bloody wound on Ning Cheng's waist. It was just that Tseng Laifu was in a hurry to escape, so he couldn't expand his victory. Ning Cheng looked at the place where Tseng Laifu disappeared and gave a dark sigh in his heart. Even with such a method, he was not able to kill Tseng Laifu. It could be seen that this person's ability to escape was very strong. Tseng Laifu was not only good at escaping, but he was also very careful. If this guy wanted to expand his victory, he would have been able to kill Tseng Laifu if he had run away a little later. The price he paid was just a little more serious. Tseng Laifu's waist slash was still a little short of killing him. Not being able to kill Tseng Laifu, Ning Cheng felt very regretful in his heart. Fortunately, Tseng Laifu was so heavily injured that it was almost impossible for him to attack Nong Shirua again. Holy Lord Regents Yumen, Yushi looked at the information in his hand expressionlessly. After a period of investigation, he had already obtained information that was not particularly accurate. The person who killed Yu Duodai and crippled Lai Fu Dao Gate was called Ning Cheng. As for the reason, it was because Ning Cheng's companion beast, the wind-seeking heavenly bull, had been cultivating in the 9 Reliance rest stop. His granddaughter had taken it away to make soup. According to the news, when the Radiant Treasury opened, Ning Cheng would also help the Tang clan participate in the qualification test to enter the Radiant Treasury. If it were half a year ago, Yoshi would not hesitate to capture Ning Cheng and torture him. But now he didn't move. Tseng Laifu was his son-in-law and also Yu Duodai's Dao companion. Be it in terms of strength or influence, Tseng Laifu was the #1 rising star in the Holy Realm. The 10 great Dao lords could suppress others, but they couldn't suppress Tseng Laifu. It was also because of this that he allowed Yu Duodai and Tseng Laifu to be together. Tseng Laifu was extremely arrogant and even the 10 Dao lords did not dare to speak to him. If anyone offended Tseng Laifu, only death awaited them. But now, Tseng Laifu's Laifu Dao Gate had been destroyed, and his Dao companion, Yu Duodai, had been killed. And he himself hadn't shown up until now, which left a shadow in Yushi's heart. It was impossible for Tseng Laifu not to have received his message. Taking a step back, even if he did not send a message to Tseng Laifu would still know that Laifu's Dao Gate was destroyed. Sect Master, the selection of the Radiant Treasury has begun. Tang Hua of the Tang clan did not go to the Radiant Treasury. She seems to be waiting for someone. She looks very anxious. A man walked over and bowed. "Where's Yu Qian?" Yushi slowly put the jade slip aside and asked calmly. Yu Qian, the 7th son of Yushi, was Yushi's favorite son, and also the one with the strongest aptitude in the Yu clan. The reporting man said respectfully, "Young Master Qian is currently speaking with Grandmaster Shinho. He asked me to ask Sect Master when you will be going to the Radiance Treasury." Grandmaster Shinho was also the most famous master refiner in the Radiant Sacred Region, as famous as Grandmaster Zhongjing. The other one was Grandmaster Luosa. These 3 people were known as the 3 great masters of the Radiant Heavens. "Well, ask Grandmaster Shinho to come over. We'll go to the Radiant Treasury together and prepare for the selection." Yushi nodded and said in a deep voice. He decided to put the matter of revenge after the Radiant Treasury. The same scene was happening in the major forces and sects of the Radiant Sacred Region. The selection of the Radiant Treasury had begun, which was the biggest event in the Radiant Sacred Region. Regardless of whether one was qualified to participate in the selection, everyone's eyes were focused on the Radiant Treasury. Those who were qualified to participate in the selection naturally went all out and brought their hired masters to the Radiant Hall. Those who were not qualified to participate in the selection also prepared some resources and prepared to exchange with others. Once there was something they urgently needed in the Radiant Treasury that could not be found outside, they naturally had to exchange it with something. In the history of the Radiant Sacred Region, the best materials, and even treasures, were placed in the Radiant Treasury. Even the Sacred Lord of the Radiant Sacred Region, Jujin, could not enter casually. Among the 20 participants this time, the Sacred Lord's bloodline was included. Tang Hua was a little anxious. Today was the day to enter the Radiant Treasury, but Ning Cheng had not come yet. She also sent several messages to Ning Cheng, but she still did not see Ning Cheng. Dang! A loud bell rang, and Tang Hua felt a little disappointed. The bell rang 10 times. If one did not enter the Radiant Hall, it would be equivalent to giving up. "Miss Tang Hua, I'm sorry I'm late." Just as Tang Hua was about to give up, Ning Cheng's voice rang out. Tang Hua was overjoyed and quickly said, "Brother Ning, it's not too late. The Radiant Hall is about to close. Let's hurry." "Okay, Miss Tang Hua will lead the way." Ning Cheng raised his hand. The reason why he was late was not intentional. After the battle with Tseng Laifu, he paid more attention to Yushi. During this time, Ning Cheng had been cultivating in seclusion. At this time, he was already at the peak of the Tao integration realm and had stepped into the third step. He only lacked the opportunity. After half a year, Brother Ning's Tao aura seems to be more compatible with heaven and earth. Tang Hua's strength was not as good as Ning Cheng, but it did not mean that she had no vision. She could already feel that Ning Cheng's strength had improved compared to half a year ago. Ning Cheng smiled and did not hide it. I was worried that Shi, that old fart, would find trouble with me, so I cultivated for a while. By the way, I'll return this to you. Thank you. Ning Cheng took out the Radiant Treasure Chariot and handed it to Tang Hua. In fact, he had never used the Radiant Treasure Chariot since he borrowed it. Brother Ning, if Shi finds trouble with you in the Radiant Hall, try to tolerate him. This time, not only will the 10 Tao Lords appear in the Radiant Hall, but also the top experts of the entire Radiant Sacred Region. Tang Hua put away the Radiant Treasure Chariot and warned Ning Cheng. No matter how much she believed in Ning Cheng's strength, she also knew that the combined strength of the experts in the Radiant Hall far exceeded Ning Cheng's. Even if they did not join forces, the number 1 Tao Lord of the 10 Tao Lords, Yi1 Mao of the Yi Clan's sacred sect, would probably be able to suppress Ning Cheng. Don't worry about that. I won't take the initiative to make a move in the Radiant Hall. Ning Cheng signaled Tang Hua not to worry. No matter who Shi was, as long as this fellow did not take the initiative to find trouble with him, he would not make a move. If this fellow dared to provoke him, then don't blame him for being rude. Tang Hua understood the meaning behind Ning Cheng's words and could only nod helplessly. She guessed that even if Shi wanted to make a move on Ning Cheng, he would not do it in the Radiant Hall. When Tang Hua led Ning Cheng into the Radiant Hall, the 10 bell tolls had yet to end. Ning Cheng did not use his spiritual consciousness to scan the hall. Instead, he casually glanced around the hall and knew that the hall was indeed as Tang Hua had said. There were many experts in the hall. Among the thousands of people in the hall, there were 13 fusing realm experts. As for creation realm experts, there were even more of them. It could be said that all the top experts in the entire radiant heavenly continent were gathered here. However, Ning Cheng had yet to see an expert who surpassed the fusing realm. From this, it could be seen that this universe was similar to the 5-element universe he came from. Creation was difficult to surpass. Ning Cheng's gaze swept across the hall, and the people in the hall similarly focused their gazes on Ning Cheng. Those who could come to this hall today, whether it was cultivation or status, were the group of people who stood at the highest position in the radiant heavenly continent. Regarding Yu Duodai's death and the destruction of Reifu Dao Gate, everyone had a clear idea of what was going on. Many people also knew that it should be the artifact crafting master hired by the Tang clan. All the people in the hall admired Ning Cheng. Not only did he destroy Reifu Dao Gate, but he also killed Yushi's granddaughter, Yu Duodai, but he still dared to swagger into the Radiant Hall. Without enough courage, no one would dare to come here. One had to know that if Yushi wanted to make a move against Ning Cheng, the Tang clan would never participate. The reason why the Tang clan had not changed their artifact crafting master was that they had already invited Ning Cheng. If they changed now, it would be equivalent to the Tang clan being afraid of the Yu clan. However, if the Yu clan wanted to make a move against Ning Cheng, the Tang clan would definitely stand by and watch. Tang Shi acted as if he did not see his granddaughter Tang Hua bringing Ning Cheng in. He still smiled and casually chatted with the few experts around him. Everyone secretly admired Tang Shi in their hearts. This Tang Shi doted on his granddaughter too much. The opening of the Radiant Treasure House was not a trivial matter. For such a big event, Tang Shi unexpectedly allowed his granddaughter to casually choose such a young fellow to participate in the selection. As soon as Ning Cheng came in, Yushi's gaze fell on Ning Cheng, and then his spiritual consciousness also pressed down. He feared Ning Cheng, but it did not mean that he would let Ning Cheng go. Ning Cheng had a fierce reputation. Others did not dare to sweep with their spiritual consciousness, but his spiritual consciousness did not care. He almost stood up and immediately attacked Ning Cheng. He found that Ning Cheng was only at the Tao integration realm and had not yet reached the third step. The Tao integration realm, even if it was the perfected Tao integration realm, was only the second step. Everyone knew that the gap between the second step and the third step was like a chasm. Once one reached the third step, it was normal for one to instantly kill a second step expert. A second step holy emperor dared to be so arrogant? The anger in Yushi's eyes burned again. There was a premise for his patience. The premise was that the opponent was too strong. If he did not endure it, it was very likely that he would fall into the trap. Once the opponent was nothing in his eyes, why should he endure it? After Ningqing came in, he did not use his spiritual consciousness to scan the people inside, which was a form of courtesy. As soon as Yushi's spiritual consciousness fell on him, he sensed it. This person is Yu Shi, one of the 10 major Tao lords of the radiant sacred region. Tang Hua whispered to Ningqing. Ningqing nodded, and his spiritual consciousness suddenly blasted out, directly pressing down on Yu Shi's spiritual consciousness. The hatred between him and Yu Shi was as deep as the sea, so he had nothing to worry about. Facing a Tao lord of the realm integration realm, Ningqing had never thought of withdrawing. He could see that Yu Shi was not stronger than Zheng Laifu and was even weaker. Chapter 14:18. Boom! The spiritual consciousness explosion directly cut off Yoshi's spiritual consciousness and blasted into Yoshi's sea of consciousness. Yoshi felt a wave of surging aura in his sea of consciousness and immediately took a few steps back, his face a little pale. Just when he forcibly tried to link up with his spirit techniques to counter Ningqing's spiritual consciousness attack, the violent spiritual consciousness attack that swept towards his sea of consciousness disappeared without a trace. Ningqing knew that his spiritual consciousness explosion would at most catch Yushi off guard and cause him to suffer a small loss. However, it could not do anything to Yushi. Therefore, after teaching Yushi a lesson, he decided to stop while he was ahead. Looking at Ningqing withdrawing his spiritual consciousness, Yoshi felt both shocked and angry. Ningqing was far more powerful than he had expected. Was this a Tao integration stage holy emperor? Most likely, even Tao lords in the universe realm would be no better than this, right? After being bombarded by Ningqing's spiritual consciousness, Yushi no longer dared to release his spiritual consciousness at will. He finally understood why Ningqing could raise Zheng Laifu's immortal cave to the ground. This kind of strength. You're Yoshi, right? Don't provoke me. Just as Yoshi felt shocked and angry, Ningqing suddenly took a few steps forward. When he passed by Yoshi, he suddenly said, "Don't mess with me again?" Since when had anyone dared to say such arrogant words to him, Yoshi? Yoshi's eyes were about to spit fire, but he did not attack again. Spiritual sense attacks were classified as covert attacks. Once he resorted to his magic weapon, the nature would be completely different. He began to wonder if Zheng Laifu and Ningqing had met before, and even fought against each other, and even lost to Ningqing. Otherwise, with Zheng Laifu's personality, how could he be so cowardly? No one who could come to this hall was weak. Although the spiritual consciousness collision between Ningqing and Yu Shi was extremely short, many people could see it. Some people guessed that in this collision, Yaxi was at a disadvantage. Several of the cultivators who originally thought that Ningqing's cultivation was not very strong and intended to use their spiritual consciousness to spy on Ningqing, quickly retracted their spiritual consciousness and did not dare to act rashly. Yu Shi was one of the 10 Tao lords. There weren't many people in the Holy Realm who were stronger than him. Even Yu Shi suffered a loss under Ningqing's spiritual consciousness attack. There was no need for them to investigate Ningqing and offend an unknown powerhouse like Ningqing. Are you Ningqing? Is he the Grandmaster Refiner who will participate in the Radiance Treasury selection for my granddaughter Tang Hua? Tang Shi suddenly asked. Ningqing lightly spoke, "Yes, I am." Ningqing's answer was very simple. He understood the meaning behind Tang Shi's words. Tang Shi was telling Yu Shi that he didn't know that his granddaughter had hired Ningqing. Ningqing is just helping to qualify for the Radiant Treasury selection, and is not someone related to me, Tang Hua. I seem to have seen you somewhere before. Tang Shi did not care about Ningqing's indifference. Someone who could make Yu Shi suffer a loss had the qualifications. Ning Qing understood why Tang Shi spoke such words. He had initially hidden in Tang Hua's immortal cave. Although Tang Shi didn't notice him, he still felt a bit familiar with that aura of laws. An expert like Tang Shi would remember even a trace of familiarity. Before Ning Qing could answer, he heard a clear voice speak up. Today is the opening day of my Radiant Heavens Treasury. Zhu Jin would like to thank the 10 Dao Lords of the Radiant Heavens Sacred Region and the various powerhouses for coming. At this point, Zhu Jin paused for a moment before continuing. Unfortunately, Brother Shimu's immortal cave was destroyed by bandits, and niece Shirua is nowhere to be found. This is my responsibility. Brother Shimu has made a huge contribution to my Radiant Heavens, so no matter who destroyed Brother Shimu's immortal cave and took away niece Shirua, I, Zhu Jin, will never let them off. Another matter that is equally regrettable is that Lei Fu's Dao entrance was destroyed, and Lei Fu is nowhere to be found, so he can't participate in the Radiant Treasury's selection. Therefore, even though there are 20 people who can participate in the selection, only 18 can actually participate. Most of the people sitting here knew who had destroyed Rafe Taoist Gate. Many of them also guessed that Zhu Jin also knew who did it. However, Zhu Jin did not look at Ning Cheng's side, which meant that he intended to feign ignorance. Sacred Master, Yushi has something to say. Yushi took in a deep breath. In the end, he couldn't hold back the grievances in his heart and stood up. Sung Laifu did not come over. Just now, he had tested Ning Cheng's strength and knew that if he wanted to deal with Ning Cheng alone, it would be akin to fishing the moon out of the water. At this moment, he could only rely on Zhu Jin to deal with Ning Cheng. Oh, what's the matter, brother Yu? Zhu Jin looked at Yushi in surprise. Yushi took a step forward and cupped his fists. My granddaughter, Yu Duodai, was cruelly assassinated in Lei Fu's Dao entrance. I hope that the Sacred Master can uphold justice for me. When the crowd heard Yushi's words, they couldn't help but ridicule him in their hearts. How many bad things had the Yu clan done in Radiant Heavens? How many people had they killed, but they had never heard of Yushi seeking justice from the Sacred Master. Now that Yushi couldn't do anything to Ning Cheng, he actually wanted to seek justice from the Sacred Master. What a joke! Because of Yushi's words, more and more people believed that Ning Cheng had the upper hand in the battle between Yushi and Ning Cheng. The hall quietened down. Everyone wanted to know how Zhu Jin would deal with this matter. If Zhu Jin forcefully made a move, they also wanted to see how strong Ning Cheng was. He dared to kill Yu Duodai and destroy Lei Fu's Dao entrance. Zhu Jin nodded. No matter what, this matter happened in the Sacred Master Domain. After the matter with the Radiance Treasury, the Sacred Master Domain will definitely intervene in this matter. Brother, you can rest assured. An empty promise completely pushed away the matter of helping him, which made Yushi feel helpless. Zhu Jin had already spoken to this extent. If he still wanted to point out that Ning Cheng was the murderer, then he would be forcing Zhu Jin to take a stand. Although he, Yushi, was one of the 10 Dao monarchs of the Radiant Sacred Domain, he didn't have the qualifications to force Zhu Jin to make a move. In fact, after Zhu Jin finished speaking, he didn't wait for Yushi to say anything else. He spoke in a clear voice. My Radiance Sacred Domain's experts and Dao friends. The selection to enter the Radiance Treasury will now begin. Metal and fire array flags, please come out. After saying that, Zhu Jin took out 3 array flags. Ning Cheng was proficient in the array Dao. The moment he saw Zhu Jin's 3 array flags, he immediately knew that they were water, wood and earth array flags. From this, it could be seen that the entrance to the Radiance Treasury was arranged according to the 5 elements. The light and darkness universe was a world derived from the light and darkness attributes. However, the Radiance Treasury was a 5-element array, which surprised Ning Cheng. After Zhu Jin finished speaking, 2 people immediately stood up. One was a man and the other was a woman. The man had long hair and looked like he had crawled out of hell. As for his age, he couldn't see it at all. The woman, on the other hand, had a delicate face and a crescent moon mark on her forehead. The 2 of them had completely integrated with the laws of space around them and belonged to the 13-realm merging experts. After Zhu Jin, the 2 of them also threw out the array flags in their hands. The 5 array flags started to spin rapidly in the middle of the Radiance Treasury's hall. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could no longer see any of the array flags. After the 5 array flags came out, the hall turned quiet. After an incense stick worth of time, everyone heard a kaha sound. A void gate appeared in the middle of the Radiance Treasury's hall. This gate was suspended in the void, and one's spiritual consciousness could only see within 3 feet of the gate. Inside the void gate was a rectangular jade table. On the jade table was a jade box with 20 blank jade talismans neatly arranged in front of it. The jade box was covered with restrictions, making it impossible for anyone to see what was inside. Above the jade box, there was a circular hole. Zhu Jin cupped his fists and said, "The selection to enter the Radiance Treasury will now begin. Those who are qualified to enter the Radiance Treasury, please bring your artifact crafting master into the Radiance Treasury." The first question is to answer the artifact crafting material in the first jade box, as well as the main use of the material. Then take out a jade talisman, carve the material you recognize and the name of the person you represent into the jade talisman, and place it into the circular hole above the jade box. Only then did Ning Cheng realize that the question wasn't set by anyone from the Radiance Sacred Domain, but the Radiance Treasury's questions. He didn't know who designed this Radiance Treasury, but it didn't look simple. "Brother Ning, let's go in." Seeing many contenders step into the void gate, Tang Hua quickly pulled Ning Cheng and followed the crowd into the void gate. There were a total of 20 people participating in the selection to enter the Radiance Treasury. Without Nong Shirhua and Tseng Laifu, there were only 18 people left. With 18 people each bringing an artifact crafting master, a total of 36 people entered the void gate. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.